Morning everybody, hope you're doing well. How's everyone doing? Hopefully I'm live and we're ready to rock and roll, everyone. Morning, morning. Oh, bit more refreshed today, a bit more refreshed. I'm on my second coffee already, so I hope everyone's all good and ready to rock and roll. Right. Just get this up for you and then get the countdown timer on. There we go, bosh. Oh, nice sugar-free caramel coffee, syrup coffee to start off the day. But yeah, morning everyone, hope you're good. Traitman, Trout, Dan, Ram, Nick, Boyd, Ben, Mickey, everyone, Peter, good to see you all, good to see you all. Yep, those of you where it's very early in the morning, 2:33 a.m, 4:33 in the afternoon is lovely, Ben, for you. Lovely Sunday afternoon race for yourself. Not often you get that. So damn tired, good. Yeah, same here, same here. I will be catching up on some sleep later on today. The weather here in the UK is not very good at the moment, so yeah, I have no intentions of going anywhere after this race today, so I'll be catching up on some sleep. So, but yeah, morning everyone, hope you're good and good to see you, mate. Right. We'll wait a little bit, guys, and then for everyone to filter in, and then we'll have a look at the strategy options for today, and then see obviously the tyre allocations and generally what we potentially may have in this race, or yeah, what we may have this race in store for us. So, I think Colapinto is starting today. That's some good news. He will be starting from the back of the grid. So Williams did have parts to repair his car, but yeah, not ideal, not ideal for him. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Obviously, what's going to occur in this race. Last year we had a safety car and a virtual safety car. Of course, there was the crash of Lando Norris into turn 12, and then there was another crash between George Russell and Max Verstappen into the same corner where there was debris and they had to have a safety car. I thought we had a red flag last year, but evidently I've misremembered. So my age, my memory going in my old age, guys. I'm doing much better than I was at yesterday, Andy. I prepared myself. I was a good boy last night. I went to sleep a little bit earlier. I've had about 5 hours sleep, I think. That's enough. That's a lot more than I had yesterday. So yeah, I feel better prepared. And I've had an extra coffee today already. I'm on my second coffee. Hey Nero, good to see you guys. Yeah, welcome everyone. If we can continue to hit that like button, can we hit 33,000 subscribers today? That'd be absolutely amazing. Where is the sub count on here actually? Sorry, 34. We've already hit 33. Don't unsub. Please don't do that. We've already hit 33. Can we hit 34? Waiting for McLaren Lando Masterclass, Kelvin. Well, it's going to be an intriguing race. We'll just wait a couple more minutes, and then I'll wait 2 more minutes, and then we'll have a look at the strategy options for today. Because it seems like there are a couple of options for us. So we'll see. We'll see if that comes to fruition today. Hey, Alan, good to see you, mate. 10:30 at night. Lovely race time for you. A Ferrari is winning today. Maybe. I do think we're going to see a Ferrari win. I said so. My predictions were yesterday. Thank you for the sub, by the way, Squid. I did say, but I think we will see a Ferrari 1-2. I just think George Russell's going to kill his tyres again. I really do. I think George Russell's going to kill his tyres. And I think it'll be, a Ferrari 1-2. So, who finishes behind them is up for grabs. I'd love to see Gasly do it. I mean, we all love an underdog story. Gasly getting another podium would be amazing, but does he have the race pace? That is the question, and we'll have a look at it in a second, and it doesn't look too good for Alpine. I deserve 100k subscribers. Thanks, Steve. I do too. I think I do too. Drake betting 200k on Charles means he's not going to win. Oh, is he bet to? Oh, is he actually? Oh, why has he done that for? Why has he done that, guys? Why has he done that? Right. That's enough of that. Anyway, enough of my chit chat. Let's have a look at the strategy options for today. Much appreciated, Mahid. Much appreciated. Yeah, as always, thank you to everyone who keeps tuning back into these watch-alongs. We get consistent numbers, and that's the key for for streaming. Is getting consistency. It's all good having peak figures and so forth, and getting bogged down into what your peak viewership was, but it's the average viewership, which is just amazing every single race weekend, every single race weekend, not just the race itself. So yeah, big thank you, guys. But right, let's have a look at the strategy options for today. And as you can see on your screen, well, the hard tyre is definitely the race tyre of choice, and well, we've got an option of either a one-stopper or a two-stopper today. I think last year the safety car kind of ruined what was a potential two-stopper last year. So we had that one-stopper, and we did see a lot of grain in here last year. So drivers did struggle on the tyres, but if you can see, as kind of has been the case with these Pirelli tyres this year, if you can see it through, if you can stick it out and work your way through the graining period, the tyre does come back to you. But of course, Vegas is a street circuit, and it's whether or not you have you're comfortable enough in these low, cool track conditions to basically make your way around the track, not crash, and see it through that graining period. Now, in regards to the pit lane loss time, we'll get to, so we'll see whether the two-stopper is a viable option. Are you going to gain enough time on the soft tyre at the start or on the medium? Well, basically making an extra pit stop. Is that extra pit stop viable, or is the one-stopper just going to be the standard? So we'll see. I think we'll see most start on the medium, because you're on the softest. You're not starting on the soft. The medium leaves you open to that two-stopper of the hard compound tyre at the bottom there. Be surprised if anyone starts on the soft compound, but we'll see. Some people like to take risks, don't they? So, what about a free-stop Hail Mary strategy? It all depends. The free-stop will depend really on the deck, whether the deck is really high. Not so sure it will be. If we've got a lot of sliding, then maybe, but I don't think so. I think the pit lane loss time here probably doesn't make it viable, but we'll see. Really struggle getting out of bed, Daisy. Yeah, that was me yesterday. So Grand Prix at midnight today for you. Lovely. Yeah, look, as a European living in the UK, we have it easy. We have it easy, so I am not complaining. Well, I am complaining, but I'm not. I am. I'm a Brit. It's in my blood to complain. But yes, it's hard. I respect those of you who live across the world who have to get up this early for most of the races. So, but yeah, that's the options for today, guys. So one stop or two stopper. I got a feeling it's probably gonna be a one stop, but we'll see. Tyres available for the race. Well, you can see here, George Russell does have two brand new sets. No, sorry, George Russell actually only has he has no new sets available to him at all, which is interesting. He only has used tyres. He's got two sets of used tyres. This isn't the graphic I normally like to use, but Pirelli haven't provided us one, unfortunately. So it seems that Sainz has two brand new sets of hards, as does Gasly, as does Leclerc, Verstappen, and Norris. Yeah, really interesting. But the Mercs, well, George Russell in particular, doesn't have any brand new sets. Well, tell a lie, he probably has a brand new set of mediums. I think he used them for one lap in qualifying in Q1, and then he came straight back into the pits. So I think George Russell has one brand new set of mediums that's technically a brand new set of mediums, and then he has 2 used sets of hards, whereas Lewis doesn't have 2 new hards either. He has 1 brand new set of mediums, and everyone else around them in the top 10 basically has brand new tyres available. So will that hurt Mercedes? We'll see. We know George Russell, his biggest weakness is his tyre management. So we'll see if he can manage that today. And then this is the race pace. So this is what they put on F1.com, and this is what is the race pace from the data they've gathered from practice. Of course, some of it is guesswork. They don't know fuel loads, they don't know engine modes and so forth. But it looks like McLaren has the best race pace over Red Bull and Mercedes, which is interesting, by a 10th. Ferrari very close to them. Alpine, now this is why I mentioned Gasly might fall back through the field here. Great qualifying for him, but you can see there from the data that they've gathered, it seems that Alpine is actually slower on race pace than Haas. But who knows? Who knows? What is really intriguing here is Aston Martin is slowest. Aston Martin has the slowest race pace. Oh, the downfall of Aston Martin. Wow, really putting a lot of stock into the new regs, aren't they? And next year, that's for sure, because that is horrendous, absolutely horrendous from them. And then the pit lane lost time. Of course, this is important for you guys today, keeping an eye out on the gaps throughout the field. 21 seconds. That's pretty standard. That's a pretty standard pit lane loss time in F1. So 2-stop could be viable. It all depends on what the drop-off of the hard compound tyre is, really. Is a new tyre really worth that much? Track position, not so essential here. Not so essential because they can overtake, so as we saw last year. But this year is more difficult to follow, as we've seen. So there may be the caveat there that because it's harder to follow this year, track position is probably, even with the DRS and the long run down to the chicane at the end of the strip, I think it's turn 14, 15 and 16, it may be, you may be a sitting duck. So if your name's Max Verstappen, especially, because even with that trimmed rear wing, it's not looking good for him in the straights. Safety car, of course, cheap safety car is around 8 seconds, I think that is, if my maths is correct. Around an 8-second advantage. So yes, if you can pit under a safety car or a VSC, that is how much time you will gain on your competitors around you. And yes, guys, that is it for really your strategy options today. I don't know, we'll see if the 2-stopper works. I think we're going to see pretty much the whole field start on the medium. Maybe someone might go YOLO and start on the hard compound tyre, but I just need to set up the data. I'm not entirely sure what the track conditions are like. It's been around 12 to 13 degrees most of this weekend, which is very cool, and that's not particularly great for starting on the medium compound tyre and warming up those tyres. So let's get that set up and we'll have a look. My pleasure, Peter, as always. Yeah, big thank you for everyone filtering in. Not long to go until this race gets underway. I will move the timer across, of course, just over 13 minutes until we get underway here in Vegas. Oh, I feel so much more alert. It's amazing what a couple of coffees can do for you guys. It is amazing. Right. I can get the sectors up as well. Windy, yeah, maybe. Oh, track temperatures, the hottest it's been all weekend, guys. 18 degrees, 18.6 degrees. So that's not in Mercedes' favour, because the hotter a track gets, we know obviously they struggle. They want it to be kind of as cool as possible. So for George Russell, that's going to make things even more difficult for him. Yeah, definitely more difficult for him here today. That's really intriguing, actually. Right, let's move that up here. So, of course, Max Verstappen could win the championship today, guys, as well, remember. Right, I think that's okay. Right, let's have a look. Oh, no, a bit too big. Hang on. And then I'll put you there. There we go. I think we're good. I think we're good. I think we're good at the rock and roll. Maybe just a touch smaller, so we bring it in there. There we go. Bosh, ready. There we go. Not long ago. Not long ago. Apparently the wind is dragging a lot of dust onto the track. I did see there was going to be high winds this weekend. Yes, you can see there at the top right-hand side of your top left-hand side of your screen. There you go. That's why that was all a bit over placed there. You can see that. There we go. You can see 8.5 miles an hour. I mean, it's been around 1 to 2 miles an hour most of the weekend. So, yeah, wind has stepped up. Track temperature has stepped up. It's 18.5 degrees, whereas for most of the weekend, it's been around 12 degrees. So, yeah, that is a bit hotter than what we're used to seeing, guys. Brit here, and this is the only thing that could get me up at this time of the weekend, Cooley. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Thanks for joining it. We're struggling together, man. We're struggling together. Hey Kelvin, good to see you again, mate. What is Colapinto doing? He's actually starting from the pit lane. Ignore that. That's just a glitch in the data, evidently. So Lando will win. Well, I did think about putting Lando Norris in there for the win, but I don't know. It's a tough one in regards to the pole. I really do think the win is going to come from either Russell, Sainz, or Leclerc. I do think Russell will fall back. My bold prediction is I think George Russell will not finish in the top 3. Could we see Lewis Hamilton finish ahead of George Russell today? That's a bold claim. That is a bold claim. But so often we have seen during races where George has finished started ahead of Lewis on the grid, and then he's finished one position behind Lewis or just one position ahead of Lewis. So we've seen that so often this season. So we'll see. Lewis did say he felt he's going to feel comfortable for the race, but starting from 10th is not good for him, obviously, after a horrendous Q3 yesterday. Struggling to get those tyres up into temperature, making a lot of analysis in my WhatsApp groups on Lewis Hamilton's mistake that cost him the lockup and primarily the last run in Q3. Seems to be kind of the consensus is that Lewis Hamilton didn't prep the tyres correctly, and he just made a driver error in regards to his throttle input as well. He was too aggressive on the throttle, which maybe, yes, originated initially from the lift out that he has through turn 2 into turn 3. We was comparing data traces of George Russell's inputs compared to Lewis, and George Russell was a lot more controlled than Lewis was. Lewis was more aggressive, and that's why he had to step out, and that's what cost him eventually. So maybe just putting it kind of being too risky, too aggressive when he didn't have that banker. If he had that banker, we might have seen him not be as aggressive trying to make up time. But he definitely had a car, even if he definitely had a car minimum to get into the top 5, which would have put him still within an opportunity of winning this race today. But from 10th, he needs a lot of assistance from a safety car or a red flag. So it's flipping 6 a.m. I know. Well, technically, it's not 6 a.m. yet. Hey, Vienna. Hope this race is worth staying up till midnight. We'll see. We'll see. Look, my expectations of Vegas was low last year, and I was pleasantly surprised. And they're still low again here this year. So we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully it's a good one. But my expectations are low. Morning, Alfie. I think Gasly's speed is real, so look for Alpine to knock him out of the top 5. Yeah, Gasly's... look, Gasly, as long as he's the best of the rest, that'd be great for him. But it depends on his race pace. As we mentioned, the data didn't look good in regards to the Alpine's race pace compared to those around him, especially when it comes to especially when it comes to comparing against the Merc and the Ferrari and the Red Bull, even of Max Verstappen, which has struggled here this weekend. I'm intrigued to see how Max gets on today. Of course, Max's aim is to wrap up the World Championship today, which he can do. He is started ahead of Lando Norris with that trimmed rear wing that they have. So we'll see how he gets on. But he could struggle today. He really could struggle today because of the lack of top speed that Red Bull has. So I'm intrigued to see if he gets eaten up down the straights by the McLarens and maybe even Lewis Hamilton as well. So we'll see. Did I have my coffee? Yeah, I'm just finishing my second one, Monique. I'm just finishing my second one. Definitely needed today. The announcements were so cringe. I thought they were gonna. Was it Michael Buffer who did it? I thought they were gonna not do those announcements this year, but hey ho, they still did them. Max needs 4th, does he? Okay. That might be actually a bit... would it be a tall order for him? I don't know. I don't know. Well, yeah, it all depends on how he copes with the lack of top speed down the straights. No red flag plays, not until at least the 15th lap. Stroll only has a seat because of his dad. Yes, of course he only does. So, guys, pit stops again. So, we're looking really, I think most people are going to start on the mediums. Yes, lap 14 to 20 is when the pit stop window is predicted by Pirelli if you're starting on the mediums. And then if you're starting on the hard compound tyre, it's around lap 28 to 34. And then around lap 7 to 13 if you're brave enough to start on the soft. So we'll see. Yeah, it seems like that pretty much the strategy options for today is a 1-stopper, a medium to hard, or a hard to medium. Might be a 2-stopper, depending on the deg. Track temperatures are hotter here this weekend than what they have been throughout the course. Yeah, throughout the course of this weekend. But that slightly hotter track temperature might actually help the tyres here because they've been struggling with tyre warm-up. There's not a lot of corners here that are very high loaded. So only really turn 3, turn 6, and then maybe turn 10, turn 11. They're the only ones that are really kind of high loaded corners. So it's very tricky to get temperature into the tyres. It's more so the rear tyres that take the battering. And of course, if you have a lack of temperature in the tyres, it means more sliding is going to occur over the surface of that tyre. And yeah, that will, of course, wear the tyre down. So that probably... Actually, a lot of the teams are probably looking at those track temps and being happy that they've gone up about 5 degrees. So every little helps, but that could maybe hurt the likes of Mercedes, who want it kind of really as cool as possible because they always perform better in cooler conditions. Why is it Max in the pole one? Because Max realistically doesn't have an opportunity of winning this race today, I believe. He's too slow in the pit down the straights. He's got that rear wing, that trimmed DIY rear wing that Red Bull have had to cut in the garage. So, yeah, I don't think Red Bull expect to win this race today, even if something magical happens with a red flag like at Brazil. The Red Bull just doesn't have the top speed, and you need that here at Vegas. So, yeah, that's primarily why Max wasn't included in the poll. But stranger things have happened in F1. So, hey, up, good to see you, mate. To be honest, guys, Stuffeyy actually knows what he's saying. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I just research. I do a lot of reading, guys. That's it. James Gill, mod of the channel. 12 months, new sub badge. Much appreciated, mate. Much appreciated. Right, we have just over 2 minutes until this race gets underway, guys. And here we go. Tyre blankets are off. I was about to say, I'm just going to go open a window because it's getting very warm in this room right now. So, everyone down to Liam Lawson, the top 14 starting on the medium compound tyre. Sergio Perez out of position today, out in Q1, has been promoted up from P16. Due to Colapinto starting from the pit lane. He is starting on a hard compound tyre. We'll see how that plays out for him. Bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see how that plays out for him because the hard compound tyre is going to be difficult to get up to temperature. Fernando Alonso starting on the softs. YOLO for the Spanish driver. Albon starting on the medium. Stroll starting on the medium. Bottas on the hard. And Colapinto also starting on the hard compound as well. So Colapinto kind of... I say nothing to lose. There's everything to lose with Colapinto. He cannot afford. And Williams, literally, the accounts team have got on the phone and called Williams and sat Colapinto down and gone, we cannot afford for you to crash this car again. So, yes, we'll see how he gets on. Starting on a hard compound tyre as well. Can he recover what, of course, was a silly mistake from him yesterday? Definitely a rookie mistake, but a silly mistake to misjudge, just turning in too early into the barrier there of turn 16 and breaking the suspension, and then breaking basically the remaining suspensions as he crashed into the wall on the opposite side. So Sergio doing the Lord's work at 15, yeah. Not YOLO from Alonso. Stroll starting on softs last year, moved up like 9 places. We'll see, Camo. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. The problem is that he may move up 9 places at the start, but it compromises your whole race ahead of you. If you lose too much time in a 2-stop, then there's no point of making up those positions at the start. So we'll see if the tyre fall off is that severe. I don't know. We have not seen track temperatures or wind speeds like this all weekend, and that's really going to throw a spanner in the works. So only just under a minute, 40 plus seconds, guys, until the formation lap gets underway. Please continue to hit that like and subscribe button. 1,300 of you here already. Let's get this stream to 1,000 likes. I'm just going to quickly crack open a window because we're about to rock and roll. Bit windy outside here in the UK today, bit windy. Storm coming through, it seems. Right, here we go. 3 seconds. Here we go. Right, I'm ending the poll as the formation lap is about to get underway. There we go, right on cue. So 35% of you think it's very neck and neck between the top, well, say top 3. Yes, I haven't included Pierre Gasly because while it was a great qualifying by the Alpine driver yesterday, I don't think Gasly in that Alpine has the race pace. It's very different between having a single lap pace to having the race pace. So while Alpine did brilliant and have been brilliant since the summer break, I do think Gasly will fall back a little bit and will be probably quickly eaten up by Charles Leclerc and maybe the McLarens and Max behind him. So that's why he's not been included, but I'm here to be pleasantly surprised, guys. But yes, 35% of you think Charles Leclerc will win this race from 4th place. That's who my bet is on. George Russell in 2nd with 34% and Sainz with 30%. Of course, everyone's starting on the medium compound tyre, and we'll see how that gets on. So let's run through your grid for the Vegas Grand Prix. It is George Russell on pole position. Carlos Sainz lining up alongside him on the front row in P2. An unbelievable qualifying by Gasly in P3. Continuing some great form since the summer break. As I mentioned before, I think he is the most informed driver on the grid at the moment. And yes, that's even more so than Max Verstappen. I think he's the outstanding performer since we have come back from the summer break. It has been absolutely tremendous driving from Gasly since the summer break, and credit to Alpine as well with their upgrades. Charles Leclerc in P4, Max Verstappen in P5. We'll see how Max gets on today. Of course, he's very slow in the straight, so I'm intrigued to see if he can fight at all from the McLarens behind him, or if he can make any steps forward. Tsunoda in P7, a great qualifying from him, of course, trying to claim or try and get an opportunity in that Red Bull car, but Sergio Perez just keeps throwing more and more cash at Christian Horner and Helmut Marko, which is why he's going to be there for next year as well. Piastri in P8, not a great qualifying from the Australian. Nico Hulkenberg, once again, another Q3 performance from Nico Hulkenberg. Lewis Hamilton, of course, had a car to stick it on pole yesterday, but fouled when under pressure, unable to get a lap in, and is starting from P10. We'll keep an eye on his progress today. Esteban Ocon in P11, unlike his teammate, not able to extract the pace out of that Alpine. Magnussen in P12, Zhou Guanyu, he's one of his best qualifyings all year in P13. We'll see what he can do. Will he be able to maybe sneak some points today? Zhou Guanyu, the first of Stake F1 season. Liam Lawson in P14, starting ahead of the man seat he's trying to vie for. Sergio Perez in P15, who was on the hard compound tyre. Fernando Alonso on the soft compound. The Aston Martin considerably slow at the moment. We'll see how he gets on today. Alex Albon in P17, Stroll in 18th, Bottas in 19th, and Colapinto after that mega crash yesterday. Well, brilliant work by the Williams mechanics again to get Colapinto to at least start this race today. He'll be starting from the pit lane. Ignore where his icon is currently at the moment. He will be starting from the pit lane and joining the back of the grid as they head through turn 1. He is on the hard compound tyre. And there we go, guys. That is your grid for the Vegas Grand Prix. We are only seconds away until we are green light and away we go. Please continue to hit that like and subscribe button, guys. Over 2,000 of you here already. Thank you for tuning in to this watch along once again, week in, week out. Here we go. First race of a triple header. They are lined up. They are at the back of the grid there. Valtteri Bottas. It's green light and away we go. Who's going to head down into the first corner? Will George Russell get a good getaway ahead of Carlos Sainz? And it's Russell leading from Sainz and Pierre Gasly and Charles Leclerc as they head through turn 2 and turn 3. And Charles Leclerc's made up 2 positions and he's already up into P2. He's leapfrogged his teammate Carlos Sainz and Pierre Gasly in P4. It is as it was all the way down to P12 as Zhou has made up a position as well. Piastri's lost a place to Nico Hülkenberg in P8. Lewis Hamilton is where he is and he hasn't been able to make up any places, but Piastri regains that place from Nico Hülkenberg, and Liam Lawson is up 2 places. No, they're switching positions again. Lawson up a position and Zhou Guanyu regains that place as Nico Hülkenberg and Piastri are tussling there side by side around the sphere as Piastri regains it back from Hülkenberg. Multiple position changes there between Hülkenberg and Piastri in the early stages of this race. But as we head into turn 12 and head down the famous Vegas Strip for the first time, it is George Russell from Charles Leclerc who is up 2 positions. He was my tip to win this race today, Charles Leclerc, and what a brilliant start that is from the Ferrari driver. Kevin Magnussen has lost a position down into 2 positions down into P14. Perez is down a place on the hard compound tyres into 16th where he should have started today, and Gasly is already under pressure from Max Verstappen as they head down into the hard braking zone of turn 14. How will they be? Will we see any lockups on this cold tyres as they head down there? Of course, we saw Colapinto make a drastic and big mistake yesterday through this exact section as Perez gets back past Fernando Alonso, who's on the soft compound tyre. But as we're about to complete our first lap of this Vegas Grand Prix, it is George Russell leading from Charles Leclerc, who is up 2 positions into P2. Carlos Sainz in P3, Gasly in P4, Verstappen P5, Norris 6th, Tsunoda 7th, Piastri 8th, Hülkenberg 9th, Hamilton 10th, Ocon 11th, Zhou Guanyu in 12th, Lawson 13th, Magnussen 14th, Alonso just overtaking Magnussen into 14th there on the hard compound tyre. He's up 2 positions. Magnussen falling back through the field in P15. I don't know if he's got any damage or if it's just a case of him not being able to get these tyres up to temperature. As once again, Nico Hülkenberg having a real tussle here in the early stages of this race with Oscar Piastri. With DRS now activated, we only have to wait a single lap now before DRS is available. And, well, Liam Lawson, a good start from him, up into P13. Alonso 14th. Perez is down a position into 16th on the hard compound tyre. And Colapinto, who started from the pit lane, has now reached the back of this field. And we'll see how him, the Williams driver, can get on today. Of course, the most essential thing for Colapinto today is to keep it out of the barriers, guys. Ooh, bro is rapping and commentating at the same time, Adam. I know, I do. There's a lot going on up in here. There's a lot going up in this head. So, George Russell is ahead of Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc does have DRS, though, as importantly for the front 2. They're pulling away from Carlos Sainz, who does not have DRS. And Gasly holding off Max Verstappen at the moment, who does have DRS there. And we'll see if Max can get past Pierre Gasly in that Alpine. We know that Verstappen is a bit slow in the top speed sections at the moment due to that rear wing, but you still do expect that the performance advantage of that Red Bull is enough to dispatch Gasly pretty quickly. And we can see there Gasly, unfortunately, he's just regained back the DRS on Carlos Sainz, but now he's lost it again. So we'll see how important that is for Pierre Gasly. You do think he might need DRS to hold off Max Verstappen, but we will see. There is a turn 8 incident involving Zhou and Lawson leaving the track and gaining an advantage that is being investigated, so that has been noted. Lewis Hamilton update. He is chasing down Oscar Piastri. Ahead of him, there is a little pack there of Tsunoda, Hülkenberg, Piastri and Hamilton, Ocon and Zhou, who are fighting at the moment. So we'll see if they're able to make any progress. But Fernando Alonso, pretty much, and Charles Leclerc, the biggest gainers at the moment, up 2 positions in this field. No one else has really made big gains. Magnussen is the biggest loser in P15, down 3 places. And Charles Leclerc and George Russell pulling out a notable gap on Carlos Sainz at the moment. 1.3 seconds ahead now, Charles Leclerc is of Carlos Sainz. And we'll see, is that by design, Carlos Sainz? Is he just dropping back from his teammate to look after his tyres even at this stage of the race? It's going to be a long one here today. 48 laps here at the Vegas Grand Prix. But here we go. DRS open, Max Verstappen down into turn 14. Let's see if Max has enough in that Red Bull. Down into turn 14 on Pierre Gasly. We know he's aggressive on the brakes, Max. No, he hasn't got enough on that Alpine. And maybe this we'll see what is going to happen with Max Verstappen. Is he going to come unstuck behind the Alpine of Gasly, who is now 1.6 seconds behind Carlos Sainz? And with on our fourth lap, 3 laps completed, it is Russell leading from Charles Leclerc, and Charles Leclerc all over the back of George Russell at the moment. Under half a second he is there. He had a good exit out of the turn 16 chicane, and well, he did a 38.3 compared to George Russell's 38.8, so that was half a second quicker for Charles Leclerc. And well, it just seems that I think both of them ran a little bit deep into turn 1 there, because Carlos Sainz was able to regain a lot of time there and is now back into the DRS of his teammate. So the two drivers into turn 1 making not having the best turn 1 exit there, as you can see. Yes, look at that. Charles Leclerc 4 tenths back. I think it was Charles Leclerc actually. He was 4 tenths back from George Russell in that first sector. So Charles Leclerc having a bad turn 1 there, as he was in the rear wing, or under the rear wing of the Mercedes of George Russell. I'm just watching the replay now to see exactly what Charles Leclerc did. And no, actually, Charles Leclerc, did he have a step out of an oversteer right under the rear wing of George Russell? He did a little bit, yes. He did a little bit, yeah. So Charles Leclerc just had to save it. But here we go, DRS open. He's got a great exit there out of turn 12. Charles Leclerc's going to have a run on George Russell down into turn 14. Is he got enough under the brakes to take it to the Mercedes driver? They're side by side. Under braking, Charles Leclerc goes. They're side by side for this chicane. Who's going to come out ahead down into turn 16? And it's still George Russell from Charles Leclerc, but it's full throttle all the way down to turn 1. And Charles Leclerc is in the rear wing of George Russell. They're side by side as they head through the turn 17 corner. And it's going to be defence here from George Russell into turn 1. Charles Leclerc goes for the move. He's ahead, but will he come out first? Will he be able to take it around the outside of George Russell? And no, George Russell holds on to the position there. And Charles Leclerc, in the early stages of this race, he's already up 2 positions. And he is vying for this race win as George Russell defends from Charles Leclerc into turn 1. This has brought Carlos Sainz into the battle as Max Verstappen has cleared Pierre Gasly. We've seen Fernando Alonso calling it quits very early on the soft compound tyre. That strategy option has not worked for him, but Charles Leclerc here really going for it with taking it to George Russell. And, well, George Russell Oscar Piastri's being noted for a full start, ladies and gentlemen. So Oscar Piastri's day could go from bad to worse at the moment. It's been a poor weekend from him thus far as the cars went. What a image that was of seeing Charles Leclerc and George Russell go side by side through turn 17. Racing room left by George Russell. Great defence from him, and Charles Leclerc was never truly ahead of George Russell down into turn 1. So great fight in here, and all that has done is brought Carlos Sainz into the slipstream and the DRS of his teammate Charles Leclerc, as Charles Leclerc, who got on a dirty line last time around, has fallen just a bit back off of George Russell, so he'll probably no doubt be giving his tyres just a little bit of respite for now, and then he'll go back on the attack. But great racing early on here at the Vegas Grand Prix. Max Verstappen is in that championship winning position in P4. That is what he needs to secure this World Championship here today at Vegas, to be a 4-time World Champion. No doubt it is only a matter of time, with still 2 race weekends remaining, as Oscar Piastri has regained that position from Nico Hülkenberg, but he is being investigated for a false start, which is not looking good for him. We have seen that. So it's pretty much normally a slam dunk, that is, if he's being investigated for a false start. So that would be a 5-second time penalty at the next pit stop, as Lewis Hamilton also clears Nico Hülkenberg down into turn 1. Apologies for the slight delay here in the track map. Of course, data being sent from the other side of the world in Vegas, so that is why we've got slight delays in the track map. But it is Charles Leclerc chasing down George Russell here. He is 1.5 seconds back from George, 1.6 seconds actually back from George now. And it seems Charles Leclerc might be struggling a little bit. Did he take too much out of his tyres in that attempt at trying to overtake George Russell? Or is George Russell just taking a bit too much out of his tyres here? Is he pushing too hard, too early? This is kind of what we see sometimes from George Russell. He goes too hard, too early as well. Just watching the race restart, and Carlos Sainz was so preoccupied with the great start of Pierre Gasly that Charles Leclerc basically did what he did at Circuit of the Americas, said thank you very much, I'm going on the inside, and he took 2 positions on the first corner. So yes, very reminiscent of what we saw in Circuit of the Americas. But yes, Charles Leclerc just went for a big, massive gap that was presented to him. Well, Fernando Alonso, don't know what tyre he's on at the moment. He called it quits, the only driver to start on the soft compound tyre. He called it quits very early on and pitted only on the full flap. So no doubt going to try and go long on this second stint. We can see that Colapinto, because of that, has moved up a position. Still unable to get past the stake F1 car of Valtteri Bottas. Perez update in P15. He's on the hard compound tyre, unable to make any headway on Kevin Magnussen, where there was an investigation of Lawson and Magnussen turn 14 incident that has not been penalised. So no penalties actually for Zhou and Lawson. That was also under investigation for forcing another driver off the racing surface. But we can see that Piastri still under investigation for that false start. As interesting here, guys, that Charles Leclerc has dropped back 2 seconds back from George Russell. So is this an indication of Charles Leclerc struggling? Has he taken too much out of his tyres in that attempt to overtake George Russell in the early stages of this race? Or is this a case of Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz just dropping back to look after the tyres? And is it George Russell, who is the fastest man out on circuit at the moment by quite some distance, around last time, around by half a second, as Charles Leclerc is actually being overtaken by Carlos Sainz down into turn 14. The 2 Ferrari drivers are side by side, and Charles Leclerc has ceded the position to his teammate Carlos Sainz, who he overtook at the start of this race. And well, yes, Carlos Sainz is now ahead of George Russell as Oscar Piastri and Lewis Hamilton are tussling there as well. Will Lewis Hamilton be able to get back past Oscar Piastri down into turn 1? We'll see. Will Charles Leclerc be able to regain the position on his teammate? A real shame here that we're having slight delays in the track map as they head through the important overtaking sections of this circuit. And well, Lewis Hamilton is not able to overtake Oscar Piastri, who potentially has a 5-second time penalty incoming for a full start. And well, Charles Leclerc, yes, has been absolutely eaten up by his teammate there and is already falling off the pack. So is this an issue? Is this an issue with Charles Leclerc? We'll see, as Max Verstappen is already closing up on Charles Leclerc. Does Charles Leclerc have an issue on his car? Because this is very uncharacteristic of Charles Leclerc, as Lewis Hamilton is all over the back of Oscar Piastri, and I think Lewis Hamilton's going around the outside of Oscar Piastri as they head around the sphere. They're pretty much side by side, and I think Oscar Piastri has just held off Lewis Hamilton for now, but it might be just a matter of time until the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton is able to overtake. That is the car of Oscar Piastri, who is struggling here. Pierre Gasly just falling back as he's coming under attack now from George Russell, from Lando. But Charles Leclerc definitely has an issue. Charles Leclerc definitely has an issue, ladies and gentlemen, as he's now being overtaken by Max Verstappen. This is a dramatic fall off in pace here, which is real unfortunate. It doesn't mean he didn't have any damage from what I can see. There's been no car contact. So this is just, unfortunately, it looks like it's a mechanical issue for Charles Leclerc, and this is a real shame for the Ferrari driver. Oh no, I'm still waiting to hear if there's any radio messages at the moment that's going to appear on my TV coverage, as Hamilton did dispatch Oscar Piastri down into turn 14 there, as we predicted. As Lewis Hamilton now up into P8, he will have the RB car of Yuki Tsunoda in his sights. A purple last sector there for Lewis Hamilton. But this is just helping George Russell right now, as he has a 4.3 second gap over Carlos Sainz, as Max Verstappen is up into P3 with that issue of Charles Leclerc. Still yet to have an indication of what that issue is, but you can see the interval time of Charles Leclerc just getting bigger and bigger from Max Verstappen ahead of him. He is down on power. I wonder if this is a temporary issue for Charles Leclerc that they're trying to rectify at the moment, but it is definitely a power unit issue for Charles Leclerc, it seems. So we will see. Lando Norris up into P5. He's 2.6 seconds back from Charles Leclerc, but you can see there, look at the gap of Charles Leclerc. But is this both Ferraris struggling here? Do both Ferraris have issues here, guys? Because Charles Leclerc is falling back from Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz is falling back from George Russell at a rate of knots. Both Ferraris in the early stages of this race here, we're not even 10 laps into this race, and both Ferraris are falling off at a tremendous pace right here as Max Verstappen is already on the rear wing of Carlos Sainz. Max Verstappen, who is down on top speed, and George Russell is 5.3 seconds ahead of Carlos Sainz. He was 1.2 seconds faster than Carlos Sainz last time around. Charles Leclerc being eaten up as Hamilton gets past Yuki Tsunoda down into turn 14. He's up into P7 now. He's going to be having a look at Pierre Gasly, and I think he might even get past Pierre Gasly down into turn 1 as Lewis Hamilton is side by side with the Alpine driver as Perez gets past Lawson into P13. Those two drivers have needle as Charles Leclerc is indeed into the pits. Charles Leclerc has indeed pitted, as has Lando Norris as well. And they're making very early changes here to get off of these tyres. Is this a power unit issue, or is this just purely tyres? Lots of drivers diving into the pits here, as every single time they go past the pit lane, we do have a delay in the track map. So apologies, guys, if you're watching. That has promoted Lewis Hamilton up into P5. A lot of drivers up a few positions there, as Perez is now up into P11, as Charles Leclerc has come back out, and well, Lando Norris is all over the back of Charles Leclerc now. So let's see, was it a tyre issue? Was it just tyres for Charles Leclerc? I can't see that being the issue, as Carlos Sainz is also under attack from Max Verstappen, who goes for a move down into turn 12. Max is thinking, I'm not waiting to get you down at the end of the strip. I want that position right now. As Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen are side by side, down the strip they go. The famous Vegas strip, the Red Bull and the Ferrari. Two historic teams in F1 side by side as they head down into the braking zone of turn 14. It's Max Verstappen ahead of Carlos Sainz. Who's going to come out ahead under braking into turn 14? And it is Max Verstappen ahead of Carlos Sainz. Lewis Hamilton is now up into P4 as he dispatches the Alpine of Pierre Gasly. And well, 11 laps into this race, it is George Russell leading 8 seconds from Max Verstappen, ladies and gentlemen. Carlos Sainz in P3, Charles Leclerc, who was up into P, as Carlos Sainz now dives into the pit lane. That will promote Lewis Hamilton up into P3. And well, have the Ferraris just lost all grip in their tyres? I'll be very surprised if this is just tyres, as we are seeing drivers get off of this medium compound tyre a lot earlier than expected. This is what Pirelli suggested was going to be the soft compound tyre range for their pit window. We can see that Charles Leclerc will keep an eye on his lap times as he goes on. It does seem like, wow, Charles Leclerc is actually now starting to pull away from Lando Norris, but let's keep an eye on his top speed as Sainz pits out in front of Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton is up into P3. Yes, confirmation that Oscar Piastri has a 5-second penalty for that full start, so he would have just taken that there in that pit stop as he's on the hard compound tyre now. But we'll see. Wow, is it really just tyres that was costing the Ferraris there in their pace? I'm not so sure. We will keep an eye out on Charles Leclerc down the main straight. That was really where he was losing a lot of time. But we'll see. We will see. Lance Stroll into P20. Yep, he is at the back. Going to be a two-stop race for sure. Yes, it seems that the degradation is a lot, or the wear at least, is a lot higher than expected here. This is very, very early in this race for these drivers to be pitting off of the medium compound tyre. That is for sure. As yes, confirmation there on the replay of Oscar Piastri's full start. So not great for him. Not great for him. As Zhou is being under attack here from Sergio Perez down into turn 14. Can Perez dispatch the Stake F1 car? He is currently up 7 positions, Zhou Guanyu. Of course, half the field still yet to make a pit stop as Max Verstappen now dives into the pits to take his pit stop. We'll see where he comes out ahead of Carlos Sainz. Of course, Carlos Sainz just lost that position to Max Verstappen. How powerful is the undercut here? We will see. As Carlos Sainz is in a bit of traffic at the moment. We can see Ocon's pitting, Zhou's pitting. The two Mercedes now P1 and P2. Lewis Hamilton up 8 positions, still yet to make a pit stop. They are going longer. We'll keep an eye out on their lap times to see how they get on, as Lando Norris does a 37.7 there, 1.1 seconds quicker than Charles Leclerc. So Charles Leclerc definitely not at the races here, unfortunately, in that Ferrari, as he is being eaten up by the McLaren of Lando Norris at the moment. Max Verstappen, where does he come out? He comes out ahead, importantly, of Colapinto. So he's put a car between himself and Carlos Sainz, who will have a lap already conducted on that set of hard compound tyres, which will be important for him. So it's important that Max got in ahead of Colapinto there. So a good pit stop by the Red Bull team. But as we are just about, as Verstappen also dispatches Valtteri Bottas there, so he's put 2 cars between himself and the Ferraris now. But let's keep an eye on the battle between Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc, because Charles Leclerc, that last lap was a 38.8, whereas Lando Norris did a 37.7. So yes, pretty much a second quicker Lando Norris there last time around over Charles Leclerc, and you do think it is just a matter of time through the turn 12 exit, as George Russell is into the pits. George Russell into the pit lane. So he's making a pit stop, responding to Max Verstappen. They're just playing it safe, Mercedes, understandably. We'll see if Lewis do they double stack with Lewis Hamilton, or will Lewis try and do something a little bit different and go long? We will see, as Lewis Hamilton inherits the lead of this race. He is now P1, still yet to make a pit stop. And, well, Lewis Hamilton ahead of his teammate Sergio Perez there, up into P4. He's looking to overtake Nico Hülkenberg as they head through the down into turn 1, sector 1, as track limits have been deleted for or noted for Lance Stroll. Yuki Tsunoda regains a position on Esteban Ocon there, as Charles Leclerc dispatches Colapinto, and, well, we can see that Lando Norris actually wasn't able to get past Charles Leclerc. So maybe that was just, maybe Charles Leclerc has fired those tyres up. We will see. I'm really intrigued by the Ferrari team. There seemed to be no radio messages that were indicating there was a mechanical issue. Maybe it just purely was all grip, and Charles Leclerc had no grip out of the corners, which is why he was a sitting duck down the straights, as Lando Norris is now going to be getting past Colapinto as well, as Leclerc also gets past Valtteri Bottas. So the Ferrari's starting to make up some positions here through the field over the cars still yet to make pit stops, as it is currently Lewis Hamilton leading from George Russell, ladies and gentlemen, still yet to make a pit stop. Lewis Hamilton 13 laps into this 50-lap race with 38 laps remaining. George Russell is second. He has just made a pit stop behind Lewis Hamilton. Nico Hülkenberg up 6 places into P3, still yet to make a pit stop as well, as is Sergio Perez, who is on the back of the Haas driver in P4. He started on the hard compound tyre, looking to go long in this first stint. As Perez has now got past Nico Hülkenberg as they race down the strip down into turn 14. Sainz also gets past Magnussen as well, as it is Verstappen in P5 who's made a pit stop. Sainz has made one as well, and Sainz will have his sights set on Verstappen. And there we go, Lewis Hamilton into the pits. The data's a little bit funky here today, or actually the pit lane entry is very, very far back here at Vegas, actually, as they head down from turn 16 to turn 17. So yes, George Russell regains the lead here from his teammate. Where will Lewis Hamilton come out? This is the question for Lewis Hamilton. He was 7th, I believe it was, when he initially, when the pit stops were initially starting to be made. So where will Lewis Hamilton come out? He is going to come out in P9 behind Lando Norris, it seems, but he's going to come out right into the middle of this battle. Data slightly delayed here from Vegas, and Lewis Hamilton comes out right behind Lando Norris. He's on the rear wing of Lando Norris. So with Kevin Magnussen still yet to make a pit stop, as is Perez and Hülkenberg, Lewis Hamilton is in a net 6th place position at the moment, as Norris gets past Magnussen down into turn 5. Max 1.8 seconds fastest lap over Perez. 38.3 from Verstappen last time around. Of course, Perez is on the hard compound tyre, guys. So that is why he will be lapping a bit slower. Of course, he started way out of position, yet to make a pit stop, so he'll be trying to go as long as possible on this hard compound tyre. He will be a good data point for a lot of these teams. They'll be keeping an eye on the lap times of Sergio Perez, although, of course, he is on a lot of fuel at the moment as they started this race. But guys, big thank you to everyone tuning in. As always, if you can hit that like and subscribe button, over 4,000 of you here in the stream. Thank you for tuning in, most of you. As Lewis Hamilton gets past Kevin Magnussen, he dispatches Magnussen pretty quickly as they are heading down the Vegas Strip, and Lewis will have his eyes set on the McLaren. As Lewis is asking, what the hell, how many positions have I just lost? But actually, it's worked out quite well for you, Lewis, because you are up, you're actually in a net 6th position, because with the drivers yet to pit. As Hulkenberg dives into the pit, so that's going to be another position for him to gain. And it does seem like that actually Hang on. It does seem like that actually the two Ferraris' pace was pretty much relative to the tyre fall-off. The tyre fall-off was so dramatic, but Charles Leclerc was losing a second per lap, over a second per lap. So yes, definitely going to be a 2-stop here today, thankfully for us fans, because it makes things a lot more interesting for us than just a standard 1-stop. So yes, we'll run through the grid once everyone has made a pit stop at least. We're still waiting on Magnussen and Bottas and Colapinto to make a pit stop. As Hamilton is being told we would have dropped another 5 places if we had waited any longer. That is how dramatic the fall off in the tyre has been. So Mercedes have the overall picture as Lewis is closing in on Lando Norris. I'll be intrigued to see what his lap time is, Lewis Hamilton, once he crosses the start-finish line. But it is George Russell leading from Sergio Perez. He has an 8.6 second lead at the moment over the second place Red Bull, but really he is fighting Max Verstappen at the moment and the two Ferraris, who he has a 9-second lead over. As yes, there has been an inversion of positions there of Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez down into turn 14. So yes, Bottas, is he in? No, Bottas is being overtaken and eaten alive at the moment as Piastri gets past Fernando Alonso. There's a lot of overtakes happening here down into turn 14. The track map is slightly delayed here, it seems, in regards to the interval positions. As Lewis Hamilton sets, last time around, set the fastest lap of the race, a 37.7 for him. I'm just going to reload this track map, ladies and gentlemen, because it seems to be just slightly out of sync at the moment, I believe. Just slight issues there. Apologies. Not entirely sure what's happening with the data that is being fed to us all the way from Vegas. There we go. There we go. Only seconds, only just a couple of seconds there in interruption. As Lewis Hamilton is on fire, fastest man out on track at the moment. Please do ignore the tyre history that is being detailed to us in the timing sheet here on the timing tower. That is incorrect, it seems. Delays here in the data being transferred from Vegas, as I just mentioned. As Lewis Hamilton, fastest lap of the race last time around, a 37.7 for him, purple. And he's purple in the first sector this time around as well, as he's all over the back of Lando Norris, who is around half a second slower than that of the Mercedes driver. Charles Leclerc seems to be on pace now, so yes, the drop-off in pace pretty much confirming to us earlier on that it was tyres. It was tyres that the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc was really struggling with, and, well, changing to the hard compound tyre at the right time has regained some pace for the Ferrari, but for them, they are being chased down by Lewis Hamilton, as Lewis Hamilton has got past Lando Norris. Confirmation there on the timing tower as Lewis Hamilton heads down into turn 14, and he is ahead of the McLaren of Lando Norris down into turn 14 as, yes, a good lap there for Lewis Hamilton. You want Max Verstappen? Gasly run out of gas. Gasly is down in P20. Wow, yeah, what has happened to Pierre Gasly? That is a real shame for Pierre Gasly there. What is going on with the data, by the way? The track map is really far behind here, as Lewis Hamilton is fastest man out on circuit at the moment. I'm just keeping an eye out on the sector times here to see where they are synced up. It seems like the track map is just slightly behind, so I do apologise there, guys, that the data being transferred from the track map is slightly behind. I'm going to reload it again just to get that back up to date for us, because I'm seeing movements happen on the interval tracker first. Sorry, on the timing tower before I actually see them on the track map, which is unlike this data that we have available to us. Gasly retired. No! Pierre Gasly retired. What has happened to Gasly? A real shame for him. Qualified in P3, and now he is out of this race. Real shame there for Pierre Gasly. A real shame. As Lewis Hamilton has got past Sergio Perez down into turn 12. As Lewis Hamilton ahead of Sergio Perez, apologies, as they head down the strip, as Perez also loses the position to Lando Norris as well. What is going on with this track map today, guys? Really do apologise. Hamilton now up into P5, fastest man out on track at the moment, and well, 16 seconds behind his teammate. That's definitely not going to be a win for him today, but it could be a podium position for Lewis Hamilton, the way that he is going. He is chasing down the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc now as Perez. That is his cue to pit, as he's just lost 2 positions to Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton there in just one straight alone, or just one corner alone. But Pierre Gasly, not entirely sure why they have pitted. Sorry, not entirely sure why Gasly has retired. No doubt it is a mechanical issue for the Alpine. So yeah, not able to capitalise on that 3rd place start today, which is a real shame for him. And also, it's not going well for Ocon either, who is down in 15th position. So yeah, not able to continue that great form that they had in Brazil. Max Verstappen 10 seconds behind George Russell now. Really do apologise here of the track map. I'm just going to try something, guys. I do apologise. What is going on with the track map? We are just going to reload it again. Come on. I'll tell you what, guys, just bear with me 2 seconds. I'm just going to reload the data because it is really bugging me that it is really delayed. So I do apologise. What has happened there with the delay? Really getting on my nerves, that is. Really getting on my nerves. Hopefully that has sorted itself out. We will see. I don't have particularly much faith today in the data that is being presented to us. We will see. Hopefully that sorts itself out. So I do apologise, guys. No, it's not. It's just to do with the fact that it's over from Vegas. It's not. It's a street circuit as well. So street circuit data is always. There's always a slight delay, unfortunately, with the data that is provided to you. So, yeah, we'll see. But yes, right, hopefully that has sorted itself out. So, let's have a rundown of the grid, shall we? As everyone has now made at least 1 pit stop. As Science is talking about, let us know as soon as possible if it's going to be Plan C. So, we will see. No pun intended there. But yes. George Russell leads from Max Verstappen, 9.7 seconds ahead of the Red Bull driver. Carlos Sainz is P3. He is 2.5 seconds further back from the Red Bull of Max. Charles Leclerc, who gained 2 positions at the start and got into P2 and nearly got into the lead as he went on the attack of George Russell, but his tyres really fell off a dramatic cliff, is in P4, being chased down by Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton in P5, up 5 positions at the moment on merit, so good pace from him. Of course, who knows what could have been for Lewis Hamilton if he sorted out his qualifying yesterday. Lando Norris in P6, of course, as it stands, will be losing the World Championship to Max Verstappen. A foregone conclusion after Brazil last weekend, pretty much, but Max only needs the top 4 to secure his 4th world title. Tsunoda doing a great job at the moment in P7. Piastri in P8. He has served a 5-second time penalty as well already for that false start that he had at the start of this race. Albon up 8 positions into P9. By the way, Albon, what has he done? What has Albon done? Williams absolutely cooking here, by the way. That is not an error in the data that is being presented to me, I think. Alex Albon is up 8 positions into P9. Nico Hulkenberg up down a position into P10. Alonso, who pitted very early off the soft compound tyre, is in P11. But we'll run through the rest of the grid very shortly as Lewis Hamilton is all over the back of Charles Leclerc. He is fastest man out on circuit at the moment, fastest in the first sector, and he is cooking at the moment, the British driver, as Lewis Hamilton on the rear of Charles Leclerc. You can see that interval time, but loses a bit of traction out of the turn 12 exit there. You could see he was 4 tenths back, and then that just goes back out to 7 tenths. So Lewis Hamilton lost the traction that was needed out of turn 12. DRS not activated until they get past turn 13 down the Vegas Strip, and that will not be enough to get past the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc down into turn 14. So Charles Leclerc holds off for just a little bit longer unless Lewis is able to get good traction out of turn 16 but it doesn't seem like it. No, he loses another couple of attempts in the dirty air of the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, and well, has the pace advantage of Lewis Hamilton. Just hit a bit of a brick wall here as he's got under the rear wing of the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, but we saw Charles's issues really come to the forefront in the first stint of this race, where he fell off a cliff on those medium compound tyres, so much so we thought he had a mechanical issue, but no, it was just struggling on tyres. But running back through the grid on the bottom half, Fernando Alonso up 11 positions, of course doing that big undercut on the field has worked out well for him, but of course still yet to make another pit stop. We'll see how he gets on. Zhou up into P12, by the way. Great drive from Zhou thus far in P12. Could he secure the first points of the season for Stake F1, the only team yet to score a point this season? We will see. Liam Lawson up a position in P13 as Perez is behind him. Of course, Perez has a bit of needle with Liam Lawson. Liam Lawson vying for that second Red Bull seat. Esteban Ocon, Alpine, not at the races, it seems here, with Gasly already retired. Not sure what's happened with Pierre Gasly. Still yet to get confirmation on that retirement, but no doubt it's a mechanical issue. Something's happened with maybe his power unit. Stroll in P16. Colapinto started from the pit lane, is up into P17. Magnussen really struggling here today in P18. He's down 6 positions, the biggest loser today, with Bottas down in 19th. So it is definitely going to be a two-stop race, guys. Definitely going to be a two-stop race as it currently stands. We saw drivers come off of the medium compound tyre within the first 10 laps. So that is very, very early on in this race, and they will not be able to take the hard compound tyre to the end, that is for sure. Track temperature slightly falling down to 17.4 degrees now, rather than the 18.5 it was earlier. And, well, you can see the wind direction. The wind is quite high, a lot higher than it has been all weekend as well. So how much is that affecting the cars sliding over this track surface here? But it does seem like the race is in George Russell's control. He's fastest man at the moment, 37.3 for him. And, well, all he needs to do is really see this to the end. But, of course, it is all about tyre management as well for George Russell. There's no risks need to be taken by him to put him back into the clutches of Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, and even his teammate Lewis Hamilton. McLaren's place has really dropped off. Yeah, Zach Brown was just on the Sky TV coverage stating he is struggling. That they don't have the pace here this weekend. So, yes, very unique circuit here this weekend. Of course, Vegas, the coolest track conditions we have turned up at here this year by quite some margin. And that has really played into the hands of Mercedes, as you can see. Max Verstappen, 37.5 from him last time around. Of course, they had to trim their rear wing, do a bit of DIY in the garage. And that is why, losing a bit of time here. Max Verstappen maybe to Carlos Sainz behind. Lewis Hamilton just unable really to close up on Charles Leclerc, although he is closer than he's been for quite some laps, Lewis Hamilton. So maybe he's recharged the battery. Maybe he just was patient for a few laps, and he's just lost there. You can see the traction out of turn 14, out of turn 12 is really where, of course, the overtaking opportunities are important. And that is where you need to put user in timeout. We don't have that. Thank you, Taco. Thank you, Taco. Lewis Hamilton just losing the all-important traction where it matters, even though he did set another fastest lap of this race there, a 37.0. Fastest lap is at the moment to Lewis Hamilton. But we do have, let's see, when in doubt, guys, just turn it on and off again. Turn it on and off again. It does seem like the track map and the timing screen is in sync now. That was really getting on my nerves, that was. That's Charles Leclerc has made a mistake, and Lewis Hamilton's got ahead of Charles Leclerc, or they're side by side down into turn 8, or is Lewis Hamilton going to come out back behind Charles Leclerc? And it seems Charles Leclerc was just able to hold on to that position from Lewis Hamilton as they headed through the second sector around the sphere. And whoa, Lewis Hamilton trying to capitalise on a slight error there of Charles Leclerc, but Lewis Hamilton's coming back down into turn 12, and he just loses that all-important couple of attempts again as they headed down into out of the exit of turn 12, and it's not close enough for Lewis Hamilton with the DRS not open. It will be open now, apologies. That DRS is really quite late down at the strip. I didn't realise how late it is. It's after the kink of turn 13. As Lewis Hamilton is stating, man, these guys are fast on the straight, and that is in regards to Charles Leclerc. Piastri reporting he is struggling on the team radio, who is down in P8, a 39.0 from him. He's actually slower than the RB of Yuki Tsunoda, struggling to get past Yuki Tsunoda. So it's not a great weekend for the McLaren team, specifically Oscar Piastri either. Always following fellow channels in Nevada. UFO Seekers, thank you. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. I did watch the UOP Senate hearing, by the way. Very, very into that topic of topics, so maybe we can have a chat another day. But yes, let's have an update of this race. Lewis Hamilton still trying to chase down Charles Leclerc in P5. Charles Leclerc, who did get into P1 for a brief second as he went side by side with George Russell down into turn 1 on the second lap, but George Russell defended very well. He's now back into P4. So it's George Russell from Max Verstappen in P2, who is 2.3 seconds ahead of Carlos Sainz. At the moment, Max Verstappen is going to be your 4-time world champion. He only requires a top 4 finish, of course, with his main championship rival in P6. Of course, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion after the Brazilian Grand Prix drive. And, well, Lewis Hamilton seems to be a bit closer here than he has been for quite some time. He's got a good exit out of turn 12. DRS, but is it enough on that pacey Ferrari? He has been saying that these guys are fast in a straight line. And, well, you can see there, even with the DRS open, Lewis Hamilton only gains a 10th on Charles Leclerc. But it's all about the traction out of turn 16. And you can see there, he loses 3 tenths out of the slow traction corner of turn 16, that chicane, and that is really where Lewis Hamilton, when he gets the power down, just does not have the grip and the tyre advantage to get close to Charles Leclerc out of turn 16. It looks like really this is going to have to be done down into turn 14. He's going to have to try and force Charles Leclerc into a mistake. But importantly for Charles Leclerc is that even though he's 1.3 seconds back, he's still getting a tow from his teammate ahead, who is 1.3 seconds ahead of him. But Lewis Hamilton consistently fast in that first sector as Alonso dives into the pits for the second time this race. We're only 25 laps into this race and Alonso is already making his second pit stop. Someone did say before this race started, will we see a free stop? Will we see a free stop? I think we will do from Fernando Alonso, that is for sure. Renault and their engine issues, I guess nothing new. He had an issue, did he, with his engine? It was smoke pouring out the back. A real shame for Pierre Gasly because it was a great. It's been a great weekend for him thus far. So a real shame that his race has had to end due to that mechanical issue. A real shame for him. Not often we see mechanical issues now, but I guess that's why Renault are changing to Mercedes engines from 2026. Is it 2026? I think it's 2026. Or is it even next year? I can't remember exactly. But as Lewis Hamilton has fallen back out of the DRS of Charles Leclerc. And, well, Charles Leclerc has just all of a sudden gained half a second on his teammate, who has maintained the gap that he had on Max Verstappen as well. What has just happened to Charles Leclerc there? Has he just dropped some rocket fuel into that Ferrari? Has he just pressed a button on his Ferrari that has just made him go faster? Because that is some pace from Charles Leclerc there in that last lap. A 37.2 for Charles Leclerc. Where the hell has he pulled that lap out from? Half a second quicker than 7 tenths quicker than his teammate Carlos Sainz last time around. He was a full second quicker than Lewis Hamilton last time around, and half a second quicker than George Russell in P1. That is a mega lap there from Charles Leclerc last time around. Did he just use up a lot more battery? I don't know. Or was it just skill alone? Of course, Leclerc fans will be saying it's skill alone. As we're starting to see more pit stops, Oscar Piastri dipping into the pits again, and this is very early. Wow. Are we going to see a free stop race here? We could very well see a free stop race. The way that they are chewing up these tyres is definitely something right now. Definitely something right now. It's very intriguing for us as well. Carlos Sainz, who's being chased down by Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc, is he going to get the position back from his teammate? Of course. Could we see the two Ferraris fighting? Of course, teammates for next year, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton back in the DRS. And, well, could this be his opportunity to capitalise on the slow pace of the Ferraris? And, well, it seems like Sainz and Charles Leclerc are going side by side down into turn 14. I don't think there's any team orders at the moment. I think these guys are racing, and, well, it could be a double podium that they could be risking here, the two Ferraris, if they continue to fight. But I guess you do have to let the faster driver through at this moment in time. If Leclerc is the faster driver, you do think you have to let him through so that he can get on the attack and free himself of Lewis Hamilton, who just set the fastest lap of the race of 37.0. So Lewis responded there to that fast lap previously from Charles Leclerc. He's saying, you're not getting away from me, as Perez is now up into P9 as he overtakes Zhou Guanyu, who is in 10th place, ladies and gentlemen, at the moment. Zhou Guanyu is in 10th place. He currently can score a point as Carlos Sainz is reporting, let's get off these tyres. So Carlos Sainz not happy with his tyres at the moment, and we are starting to see this crossover period again. We've already seen Piastri pit, Albon pit again. So much earlier than we predicted, guys. Definitely not a one-stop race, thankfully. Definitely not a one-stop race. Hey Peter, I'm doing very well, thank you. Doing very well. Yep, hope you're all enjoying the stream, guys. Has Albon retired? Albon's retired, isn't he? He has. Oh, Alex Albon has retired from this race. The race was going very well for him as well. Wasn't he up in the points? Alex Albon was up in the points and he's now retired from this race. A real shame. But Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, they're toe-to-toe at the moment. Look at them. Lewis Hamilton is closer than he's ever been. Is someone going to go for a move here down onto T14? And they're side by side. Charles Leclerc side by side with Carlos Sainz. Does Lewis Hamilton capitalise here? And is he going to be able to get past Carlos Sainz? Surely Sainz is pitting here. Or will he try and hold Lewis Hamilton up for just a little bit longer as Leclerc gets ahead, importantly, of Carlos Sainz there as Sainz is reporting, box me, as Mercedes are going for the undercuts. An aggressive move here for Mercedes. They're thinking about not staying behind Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Let's get in, let's get onto some fresh rubber, and let's get some clean air. Could Lewis Hamilton do the undercut here on Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz? This outlap is important. It's hammer time for Lewis Hamilton. Will he come out ahead of Yuki Tsunoda? He will indeed. And well, Lewis Hamilton, let's see how Ferrari responds. Carlos Sainz is not going to be too happy if he doesn't get priority here on this lap to box. He's been calling to be boxed. And, well, it looks like with that overtake of Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz is not going to get priority here unless they decide to double stack. But you can see Carlos Sainz falling off of a cliff here like we saw on the first stint on the medium compound tyre. He's 4.1 seconds back of Charles Leclerc right now. But what does Ferrari do? Do they respond to Lewis Hamilton? You've got to respond to them if you're Charles Leclerc, because Lewis is on a charge. He looked quick in clean air and he was only being held up because Charles Leclerc had track position. So let's see what is the gap at the moment between Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. It is 21 seconds. It is right on the verge of that pit stop window. They would come out neck and neck if Lewis Hamilton is not able to fire these tyres up. It's all going to be about the pit stop of the Ferrari team. Do they keep Charles Leclerc out there? Do they extend this stint? Or do they come into the pit box? And Charles Leclerc is staying out. Ferrari are not responding to the undercut of the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton. They're pitting Carlos Sainz first, so maybe they are prioritising Carlos Sainz, who's been calling for that pit stop for quite some time. But yes, Lewis Hamilton no doubt is going to get ahead of Carlos Sainz here, you would suspect. And it's all about Charles Leclerc. Is Charles Leclerc going to pit next time around? But I think they lose track position here now. 35 to 15 seconds. That's a 20-second gap now to Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. And I think even with a mega pit stop of the Ferrari with Charles Leclerc, that would be Lewis Hamilton coming out ahead of the Ferrari of Charles. And I think they've missed a trick there by not pitting Charles Leclerc and responding to that undercut. So we will see if they pit him this time around. And Sainz has come out of the pits and he's under attack from Yuki Tsunoda of all people down into turn 5. Does the RB driver go for it as Lewis Hamilton sets the fastest first sector out of anyone thus far? Purple, 27.4 from him. He is closing down the gap on Max Verstappen of all people. A 52.9 for Lewis Hamilton last time around to Max Verstappen. Max unable to fire those tyres up very quickly there. I mean, he's gained half a second alone in that first sector, Lewis, over Max Verstappen. Really, the Mercedes has been the faster car compared to the Red Bull most of this weekend. So we'll see if Lewis Hamilton is going to be able to overtake Max Verstappen. As I've mentioned previously, only needs a top 4 to secure his 4th world title, his 4th consecutive world title. But here is the moment, guys. Will Charles Leclerc pit? Will they respond to that undercut? Or will they try and extend and try and have more tyre life at the end of this race? It looks like Ferrari are going to extend. They're going for track position, and they're going to try and bank on having better tyre life at the end to potentially use and utilise and maybe regain a top 3 position here. But really up in the air at the moment. Not really sure who's going to finish on the podium's positions. It seems like this is George Russell's most definitely to lose. Comfortable race for him at the moment. He's been out up front on his own for quite some time. He sustained that challenge of Charles Leclerc in the early stages of this race, and it was 36.9 for Lewis Hamilton last time around as Yuki Tsunoda dives into the pits, as Lewis is now 1.3 seconds back from Max Verstappen. That's Lewis Hamilton's like 6th fastest lap of this race. He's really coming alive in this race, and it is a moment of what if Lewis Hamilton had qualified much better yesterday. We could have seen a real fight at the front between the two Mercedes teammates. That would have been really, really interesting to see. But an investigation there of Lawson and Ocon causing a collision has been noted between Liam Lawson and Esteban Ocon. Yet to see that replay on track. So interested to see what's happened there. What has happened to Albon? He's retired from this race. Not entirely sure the reasons for that retirement. I'm still yet to know why. We can see that Pierre Gasly has retired. That is because of an engine issue, as Lewis Hamilton is 1 second behind Max Verstappen now, and he won't have DRS as they head down to turn 14, but he will have it in the braking zone, that is for sure, as he's gaining considerable amount of time on the Red Bull, who is down on top speed here this weekend. It has been very well documented that Red Bull have had to DIY their rear wing to make it more streamlined for the low downforce requirements here at Vegas. As Norris dives into the pit lane in P4, where will Lando Norris come out? He's going to be coming out just ahead of Sergio Perez, I suspect, as Lewis Hamilton is now 7 tenths behind Max Verstappen. He has so much more grip than Max Verstappen. It's noticeable in those slower corners, as it seems no further investigation between Lawson and Ocon there. So there's been quite a few causing a collision investigations here today, and none of them have been penalised actually. So Russell is actually cooking, hope that second stop doesn't screw his pace. No, Russell's very, very comfortable. It's just management for him now. I mean, what Russell needs to do is not go too quick. And what I mean by that is he needs to not cook his tyres, because there's always a possibility of a safety car. And yes, he'll be able to pretty much make a free pit stop, but you don't want to cook your tyres so much that if in the eventuality of a safety car, you don't have enough grip on a safety car restart. But I think he has pretty much a safe pit stop anyway for him to do. It's only Charles Leclerc who would also make a pit stop under those conditions anyway. So yeah, he's fine. It's just about keeping out the barriers for George. He's driven off into the distance. A great drive from him thus far, with 19 laps remaining, as Lewis Hamilton is ahead of Max Verstappen down into turn 14. There's nothing that Max can do on the pace of Lewis Hamilton, and Charles Leclerc is now into the pits. So the question now is, how much of an advantage does Lewis Hamilton have over Charles Leclerc? Well, actually, how much of an advantage does Max Verstappen have over Charles Leclerc? I'm not sure this is the right strategy here from Ferrari, and I think they've fumbled big time here, and I think they could potentially have thrown away a podium here with Charles Leclerc as he comes out ahead of his teammate. And well, there's 5 laps. There's a 5-lap advantage over Lewis Hamilton and over Max Verstappen on this set of hard compound tyres. But Carlos Sainz is regaining the position over Charles Leclerc into turn 5. This has not gone well for Ferrari or Charles Leclerc. If I'm Charles Leclerc, I'm fuming right now. You should have responded to the undercut of Lewis Hamilton. You should have pitted me first. I got ahead of Carlos Sainz, and now I'm back down into P5. What's going on? It's a Mercedes 1-2, and you've potentially thrown away a double podium, at minimum a podium for me today. Not a good strategy option there for Ferrari, in my personal opinion. A good pit stop from him, a 2.9. I could be eating my words. That 5-lap tyre advantage could come back to really help Charles Leclerc, as George Russell's now making his second pit stop of today. It could really help Charles Leclerc at the end of this race. We will see. Will we see a drop-off, a dramatic drop-off like we have seen from the Ferraris in the first stint and the second stint, really? But I'm not so sure. I think that's what Ferrari are definitely banking on. Ferrari are definitely banking on the drop-off dramatically of Hamilton and Verstappen come the end of this race. So maybe they still see a double podium being within their grasp. Let's see. Let's wait and find out. A Merc shootout? No, it's not a Merc shootout. It's a comfortable one too. It seems at the moment it is a what-if race for Lewis Hamilton for sure. It is definitely a what-if race, all about that qualifying. When it comes to race day, Lewis, when he's got a car underneath him, definitely puts in the performances, but qualifying is really where he's faltered in this current regulation set in Mercedes. We'll see if he's able to rectify that when he moves to Ferrari next year, as Sergio Perez is in the pits. Where is he going to come out? Sergio Perez is going to have a bit of work to do if he wants to finish in the points today. But at the moment, with most of the drivers making at least 2 pit stops, only a couple of drivers out there who are still yet to make a second pit stop. It is George Russell leading from Lewis Hamilton. It's a Mercedes 1-2 at the moment. Lewis up 8 positions into P2. Max Verstappen will be your 4-time world champion if he finishes in the top 4, which he's currently doing as he's in P3. Carlos Sainz chasing him down though in P4. Charles Leclerc, who has 5-lap younger tyres than that of Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, in P5. He did briefly take the lead here down into turn 1, but George Russell defended very well, and now Charles Leclerc finds himself back in P5. Hulkenberg quietly going about his business, yet to make a second pit stop, is in P6. Lando Norris, no man's land really for the McLarens here this weekend, just not on the pace of the top team, struggling with these cooler conditions that we've seen here this weekend in P7. Piastri in P8. It's been a very, very up and down weekend for Piastri. A 5-second time penalty for a false start, which he's already taken. Zhou Guanyu, by the way, he's out there on a 1-stop, and he is 9th place. This is the highest up Zhou Guanyu has been in the race for some time. Can he score points today? Tall order for him, as Hulkenberg now dives into the pits. We'll see where he comes out. Lawson in P11 at the moment, still yet to make another pit stop as well as he's chasing down Esteban Ocon. Tsunoda in P12. He's already made a second pit stop, so no doubt Lawson will relinquish that position when he does make that pit stop. Alonso in P13, Magnussen in P14, Perez is in 15th. Wow, so he has some work to do if he wants to finish in the top 10, doesn't he? Colapinto in 16th, started from the pit lane, just trying to get a solid race underneath him so he doesn't put it in the barrier like he did yesterday. Bottas in P17, Stroll 18th, and then we've had 2 retirees of Albon and Gasly thus far. So we have 17 laps remaining of this Vegas race. Is there going to be one more shock for us in this race? Will we get a late safety car? We've seen a few collisions already, some incidents that have been under investigation but haven't been penalised. Will these drivers' tyres fall off a cliff like we've seen in the first 2 stints already, as Lewis Hamilton is in P2 at the moment, 10.3 seconds back from his teammate. He's 2.3 seconds back from Verstappen, so Lewis is pulling out a gap. The gap, importantly for Max and Ferrari, is not being closed down by Carlos Sainz. Not being closed down. Mercedes F1 dominance could bore fans. Yes, Max Verstappen does have a bad rear wing. They have had to do a bit of DIY to it this weekend to make it more suitable for a low downforce configuration that's required here at Vegas. They were considerably slow on the straights come Friday, but they have been able to regain a little bit of top speed from that alteration, but not a lot. In my opinion, who is going to win, Celia? George Russell. While Lewis Hamilton is chasing down Russell. Russell's got a comfortable lead over Lewis. Lewis will push, of course he will, but George Russell he's got plenty of life in his tyres, and he's just managing this race. So I can't imagine Mercedes will let the two of them fight. If Lewis was somehow able to catch up to George, I can't imagine they would, because George has controlled this race from the start. So Hamilton going really fast laps. Yeah. I mean, he's going for a purple lap here, Lewis Hamilton. It is definitely hammer time for him. 16 laps remaining. Could he catch George? He could, but I don't think he'd overtake. By the time he catches George would have too much life in his tyres. He'd have too much of a tyre advantage. We saw Lewis Hamilton come unstuck behind Charles Leclerc, didn't we? With a slight tyre advantage, and he was unable to get past him. So, yeah, you could catch maybe, but you won't overtake because you just take too much life out of those tyres by the time you get there. And we've seen these tyres fall off a cliff, so really Lewis has to be, we know he's very good at managing tyres, but he needs to be a bit cautious really on managing his tyres because, yeah, we don't, obviously he needs to make it to the end of the race and not fall back into the clutches of Verstappen and the 2 Ferraris. Did I do my pit stop yet? No, I haven't done a pit stop. Mercedes is just goated when a track is below 20 degrees Celsius. It's true. It's true. Every single race they've done this year, you look at the track conditions, Silverstone, Spa, they've always been cool track conditions. So yeah, when Canada in the rain, of course, as well. George Russell was up there, and then the strong race pace they had. Rain conditions, cooler track conditions. That is where the Mercedes has really come alive. So, yeah, unlike Brazil last week, where they had, it was like 50 plus degrees, wasn't it? And they were struggling. If George makes a mistake, it's Lewis' race to lose. Maybe. I mean, you'd like to see at least a fight, wouldn't you? You'd like to see a fight. So Nico Hulkenberg has just overtaken Liam Lawson, who is Liam Lawson going to go for a one-stop strategy here? We will see. I think he's probably banking on it now. But after those pit stops, Tsunoda's been promoted back up into P8. Esteban Ocon, actually Alpine. I mean, Esteban Ocon was down in like 17th place not too long ago, and now he's back up into P9. That has been the how this race has kind of changed during the how this race has changed so much in the duration, with obviously the different pit stops options that these drivers have been using. But Ocon is coming under attack from Nico Hulkenberg, who is on a brand new fresh set of tyres, 23 lap old hards compared to 2 lap. I can't imagine Ocon is going to have anything to say about this from Nico Hulkenberg, as Charles Leclerc has just taken away the fastest lap away from Lewis Hamilton by 3 thousandths of a second there from Lewis Hamilton. A 36.288 from Lewis and a 36.285 for Charles Leclerc. So Charles Leclerc now starting to get a bit of a move on, making use of that tyre advantage that he has over Max Verstappen and his teammate. But is it going to be enough as Lewis goes faster again in the first sector? He is taking out some considerable amount of time out of George Russell, but he is 8 seconds back from George Russell. George Russell is just managing this race. As I said, Lewis may be able to catch, but I'm not sure he'd be able to overtake. We will see. Bottas can already see silver in his mirrors. Yeah, he may be in silver next year. Valtteri Bottas, rumoured to be test driver, maybe reserve driver for Mercedes. Of course, he's not... hasn't got a seat next year, Valtteri Bottas. So, yes, could be making a return to Mercedes. Probably won't see Bottas back in an F1 car unless there was an illness or an injury to George Russell and Antonelli for him to step in, which is a bit of a shame for Bottas's career to go out on a limb in that stake F1 car, because it's been a good career for Valtteri Bottas in the Williams and then in the Mercedes. So, a bit of a shame for him to end his career in Alfa Romeo, but... yes, let's run through this grid with 13 laps remaining, guys. Please continue to hit that like and subscribe button. Can I just say, over 5,000 of you here in the stream for this early morning race as well. Just continue to see returning viewership and great numbers. So big thank you for everyone who keeps tuning in. Really, we've built a great community here. I hope you've been enjoying the coverage. Of course, stick around for after the race ends. We're not like other watch along streams. We'll stay around to answer questions and discuss everything that has happened in the race, and listen to the interviews afterwards as well. And yeah, please hit that like button. Let's get this stream to 1,000 likes. And can we get this? If you have yet to hit that subscribe button, please continue to hit that subscribe button and get this stream to 34,000 subs. It'd be much appreciated. So is it just me or Lewis taking a second every lap or two out of Russell? Yeah, he's doing it. I mean, Lewis is on it. Lewis is going for it. But I'm not sure, as I said before, I don't think Lewis would be able to overtake George. So when you're out in the lead, you don't want to just go... like, George doesn't have to push. There's no reason for George to push. His teammate who's chasing him down has got to make up 7 seconds in the last 13 laps. 8 seconds. You've just got... oh my god, 3 wide. I just saw 3 wide for the chicane with Sergio Perez, Nico Hulkenberg and Liam and Yuki Tsunoda. What? Sorry, Liam Lawson. Magnussen, Lawson and Perez just went 3 wide into the chicane, and I'm not sure how they all came out of that unscathed. Unbloody believable, that right there. As Lewis Hamilton set a fastest lap of the race, but then that was swiftly taken away by Carlos Sainz and then Charles Leclerc. Dang, track limits for sure there. 3-1 into a car. No, it's unbelievable, that 3 wide. Dirty air from Bottas, maybe? No, he's just... So George is just managing the race. Like, he's got pace in hand. He's got pace in hand if he wants to. And, yeah, when you're out up front, there's no reason... If there's a safety car now, you're not making another pit stop. You're bunching up the field. You want to make sure that you've got that tyre advantage if there is a required safety car restart. So great lap times from Lewis, but all this is doing, as a frustrated Lewis Hamilton fan, all this is doing is just showing what we could have had today if Lewis Hamilton had a decent qualifying yesterday. We could have had a battle for the lead between the 2 Mercedes teammates, but unfortunately, yeah, Lewis robbed us of that, and there's no other way to put it. So... Merck has no use of them focusing on battling teammates at this point if it happens. Exactly. Checo did the Leclerc send from last year. Will Max become champion if he finishes P3? Yes, Max Verstappen only needs a top 4 finish to wrap up the championship here this weekend. Of course, he's 3 positions ahead of Lando Norris anyway, so even if he didn't finish in the top 4 and he finished P5, 1 place ahead of Norris, I mean, it's a foregone conclusion with a sprint race next weekend in Qatar, so... but yes, George Russell leading from Lewis Hamilton in P1. Lewis Hamilton 7.4 seconds behind, a 35.8 from him last time around. He's chipping away at that gap to George Russell, but George Russell has a comfortable lead over his teammate, and he's managed this race very well today. He sustained the pressure from Charles Leclerc early on in the race, and then when the tyres completely fell off a cliff for Ferrari unexpectedly earlier on, where we thought they actually had a mechanical issue, he was able to just drive off into the distance. Max Verstappen in P3, not able to cope with the pace of the Mercedes today. Of course, he only has one eye on that championship battle. He'd love to win the race, but of course, for Red Bull bringing the wrong rear wing here this weekend and having to do some DIY in the do some DIY in the garage to rectify that. He is just falling off the pace of Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, and he's trying to hold off the 2 Ferraris now. And he's just asked his engineer actually whether he thinks they should try and hold. Should I try and hold them off? And they said yes, we think you should, because of course, if he loses 1 position to Carlos Sainz, he's going to be under threat of losing 2 positions very quickly. Of course, with Charles Leclerc on a tyre advantage to Max Verstappen 4 laps as well, as Valtteri Bottas has the blue flag waved. Yes, Max Verstappen really wants to hold on to this to secure, of course, a podium position and for a world championship, a 4th consecutive world championship as well. Will Ferrari cede the position for Sainz and Leclerc? Will they swap the positions around? Will Charles Leclerc be on the radio asking, let me at him, as he's just gone fastest with a 35.6. I think that is a statement of intent there for Charles Leclerc and a message to the Ferrari pit wall. You have screwed me over with my strategy today with that pit stop. Let me past and let me at him. That's what I would be saying if I'm Charles Leclerc. 10 laps remaining in this race, and I think he could quite comfortably get Max Verstappen. That was nearly a full second quicker last time around, Charles Leclerc, so he has that tyre advantage for sure, you would think. But whether they do it or not, I don't know. We will see. Lando Norris in P6 and Piastri in P7. A bit of a no-man's land race for the McLarens here today. Just been way off the pace of the Mercedes and, the 2 Ferraris and Max Verstappen as well. Tsunoda in P8, a good result for him as it currently stands, but he is in a battle for P8 for the points positions between Nico Hülkenberg and Fernando Alonso. Very, very tight fight there between those 3. Fernando Alonso, who started on the soft compound tyre, bearing in mind, and he's on 17-lap-old hards. He is ready to pounce if Nico Hülkenberg and Yuki Tsunoda go side by side at any point. Ferrari only thinking about Constructors' title now. True, but there's also the possibility of gaining more points. I don't think Sainz has what it takes with that tyre advantage to get past Max Verstappen. I could be wrong, as he's going for a move on Max down into turn 14. Has he gone for a late move on Max? He has done indeed. He's done a send. Carlos Sainz has sent it on Max Verstappen down into turn 14. And of course, with the championship in his sights. Max Verstappen was not fighting that too hard as Carlos Sainz from absolutely nowhere has sent it on Max Verstappen, and now Max Verstappen is going to be in the clutches of Charles Leclerc, who has a considerable tyre advantage over Max Verstappen, and you do think this is only a matter of time before Charles Leclerc dispatches the Red Bull of Max, and well, it might not be enough for Max Verstappen to secure the World Championship here this weekend, if my maths is correct, but it will pretty much nail it on for him next week, where he'll only need 1 point, I believe it is. So Carlos Sainz has just got past Max Verstappen there with a great move. I'm just watching the replay now of that move, and it was a great move. Max didn't fight it hard. He saw it coming. He let him through. And, well, you do think it's only a matter of time now for Charles Leclerc to get past him. And, well, the Constructors' Championship will be on, guys. Absolutely on, because Ferrari will gain quite a considerable advantage over McLaren here. And we'll have a look at the championship standings after this race, so stay tuned for that and don't go anywhere, guys. But let's see, Max Verstappen, he will have DRS. How about Charles Leclerc? Will he be able to catch Max Verstappen napping? We'll see. It looked like it wasn't a great exit from Charles Leclerc. He's 8 tenths back, and he's not going to have enough on Charles Leclerc, on Max Verstappen, who is under the rear wing of Carlos Sainz. Of course, Verstappen, he'd love to regain that position on Sainz, but he doesn't want to obviously DNF here today. He needs to play this smart. As Lewis Hamilton, that gap now down to 5.4 seconds. Lewis Hamilton on George Russell with 8 laps remaining. He may catch George, but I think George has got this comfortably in hand. He's definitely got more than half a second in hand, George Russell, if he wants to. He's just managing this race. He's almost teasing Lewis Hamilton, really, at this moment in time, with 8 laps remaining. Can Lando win the championship? Only if Max Verstappen crashes out and DNFs right now. Yeah, he wouldn't be able to. He wouldn't be able to. I think he needs like pretty much 3 DNFs from Max Verstappen in the last 3 races. So, can we have a replay of your comment 2 seconds before Sainz's overtake? Comment. Look, I take my. This is why I'm always got my eyes on the track map and the data, guys, because I take my eyes away and look at chat for 2 seconds, and yeah. Stuff like that happens and I end up eating my words. But yes, guys, if you've been enjoying this stream, please hit that like button. Let's get this stream to over 1,000 likes. How have we not got 1,000 likes already with over 6,500 of you here? Big thank you to everyone tuning in, as always, as we're approaching the end of this Vegas Grand Prix. It is George Russell leading from Lewis Hamilton, and Mercedes 1-2. Lewis trying to chase down George Russell, but he is just running out of laps, and no doubt George Russell is just comfortably managing this race right now and has plenty of pace in hand on those 5-lap fresher tyres than that of Lewis Hamilton, as he's just done a 35.9. What did Lewis Hamilton do? Is he had to get past Valtteri Bottas. Yeah, importantly, he lost time there. So Charles Leclerc, though, this battle for P3. Sainz got past Max Verstappen with a great send a couple of laps prior. And, well, Charles Leclerc, who really has been a bit shafted this race. He's had a very topsy-turvy race, fighting for the lead. Then his tyres fell off a cliff. He fell back. Then he got past Lewis Hamilton. He got back up into P3 with his teammates' tyres falling off a cliff. And then he was undercut by Lewis Hamilton, and unfortunately for him, Carlos Sainz was pitted before him, and then Charles Leclerc has found himself out in this current position down in P5, where really it should have been a comfortable P3 for him in this race. I'd like to see the logic that Ferrari explain after the race and Charles Leclerc's comments to see if he is happy with that or not. I haven't really heard any Charles Leclerc radio today on the TV coverage, interestingly, so he hasn't been very vocal. It's been all Carlos Sainz. Lando Norris in P6 and Oscar Piastri P7. Lando Norris now starting to turn on the afterburners. Of course, no man's land for him. Maybe try and gain an extra all-important point in this championship, Constructors' Championship battle, because as it stands at the moment, the Ferraris are going to gain a gain on the McLaren team, with McLaren in P6 and 7. Of course, Sainz occupying P3, Charles Leclerc trying to get P4 and put another position between themselves and the McLaren. But Max Verstappen doing very well in the DRS, in the toe of Sainz at the moment. But he is close to losing that toe of Carlos Sainz, and you do think once he loses it, as he just has done there under traction through turn 16, it could be with 6 laps remaining, it could be potentially Charles Leclerc taking it to Max Verstappen in the closing stages of this race, as Lewis Hamilton's got that gap now down to under 5 seconds, so he's comfortably... Lewis Hamilton, man, what a race this could have been for him if he didn't have a poor qualifying. Started P10 and now he's up into P2. So, yeah, definitely could have taken it to his teammate, that's for sure. And provided us a much more interesting race for the win. As Nico Hülkenberg has got past Yuki Tsunoda finally down into turn 14 as Fernando Alonso is under attack from Sergio Perez. So Perez has now caught up to this pack as well. And by doing that, Fernando Alonso has removed himself from the DRS of Yuki Tsunoda as Zhou Guanyu has overtaken Esteban Ocon down into P14. A good drive from Zhou Guanyu, by the way, this weekend, as Colapinto is now up 7 positions into P13. Primarily due to strategy, as he's trying to chase down Kevin Magnussen in P12. So we'll see. It'll be a good recovery race for Colapinto, considering the poor qualifying he had yesterday. Those poor Williams mechanics. As what has happened there? Is the track map, the data? What has happened there? Apologies, guys. That just showed to me that Charles Leclerc got ahead of Max Verstappen into turn 12. I think the data and the track map just had an absolute glitch out. Went on the fritz because I thought, what the hell happens? They're through turn 12 and Charles Leclerc's up 2 positions. So yes, a glitch there. Apologies for me scaring you all. Apologies for me scaring you all there. Normal service resumed. Carlos Sainz is in P3, Verstappen P4 and Leclerc P5 still. But Leclerc is all over the back of Max Verstappen, who does not have DRS anymore. You can see 3 tenths back, 2 tenths back. That extra grip that he has in those 4-lap younger tyres, Charles Leclerc has over Max Verstappen. You can see through the slow corners is where Charles Leclerc has the advantage. He has DRS down into turn 5. And, well, 1.2 seconds, 1.3 seconds back now, Max Verstappen is from Carlos Sainz. He's losing in the the slow corners where most traction is required. We'll see if Charles Leclerc is going to be able to stay all importantly close behind Verstappen out of turn 12. That is where the main that is where it is all about. Of course, that long run down the Vegas Strip to turn 14. And, well, Alonso has been overtaken by Sergio Perez. Sergio Perez now back into the points positions, into P10, and he will have his eyes set on Yuki Tsunoda, who is in P9, who is unfortunately falling back off of Nico Hülkenberg, who is putting in another great performance. Nico Hülkenberg, could it be a mistake, Nico Hülkenberg moving to Audi, by the way, guys? Maybe not for his bank balance, but from a performance perspective, he most definitely, you would think, is moving to a slower team. As you can see there, George Russell putting in a fastest middle sector there of 31.4, so he's now using up that tyre advantage that he has comfortably over Lewis Hamilton. So, yeah, just managing this race comfortably. We can see. Can McLaren win the Constructors' Championship, Peter? They still can, yes, but it is going to go down to the last race of the season, that is for sure. We'll have a look at the championship standings once this race ends to see what permutations that we currently have here. As Leclerc has got ahead of Max Verstappen. Apologies, I missed it, but Charles Leclerc, it was a foregone conclusion, really, wasn't it? With that tyre advantage that Leclerc had, without the toe and the DRS of Max Verstappen had with Carlos Sainz. And yes, Charles Leclerc ahead of Max Verstappen now. And it's a Ferrari 3rd and 4th. I think I did predict, guys, but I did predict, actually, Ferrari would win this race. So I was very, very wrong. Actually, I take my predictions back. I'm not a genius this time around. I'm not a mystic. But yes, that is very important in regards to the Constructors' Championship. So yes, Charles Leclerc up into P4. And, well, we will see if what that will do to the Constructors' title. But this is definitely going to go down to the end of the season. But importantly, for Max Verstappen, yes, Max Verstappen will not secure, I believe, the championship this race, finishing in P5. He needed that top 4. So, hang on. As it stands... Oh, no, sorry. As it stands, Max Verstappen would still win the championship. Max still would win the championship. That's what they're saying. He will still be champion. Yeah. He will still be champion. I think it was maybe if Norris was ahead of him. So, yeah. So Max will still be champion. He tried to hold the Ferraris off. Of course, Lando's trying to chase it. Is 9 seconds behind him. So, yeah, definitely not gonna happen there. But you can see George Russell just using that tyre advantage that he has now. Lewis Hamilton, who's pushed hard. He's pushed so hard. He's just had an off track there. Lewis Hamilton. He's starting to struggle. He's went hammer time for about 10, 15 laps, and well, he is now 6 seconds back behind his teammate, and yeah, never had a hoping chance in catching George Russell, but he showed us what could have been. He showed us what could have been, as we can see, the closest battle really out there now is really for P9, as Yuki Tsunoda is being chased down by Sergio Perez, who has 4-lap fresher tyres. Of course, he's in the Red Bull, which arguably is a quicker car than the junior team. And, well, will Sergio Perez be able to dispatch Yuki Tsunoda? We will see. But big thank you, guys, for everyone tuning in to this race. If you can hit that like button, let's get this stream to over 1,000 likes. It'd be much appreciated. And if you can hit that subscribe button, let's get this stream to 34,000 subscribers. If we can, guys, it'd be much appreciated. Please, please. Delusional Brits making scenarios to get Lando a chance. There's no chance for Lando. Absolutely no chance for Lando. Never was, really, especially after last weekend. Last weekend was the opportunity for him. Last race was the opportunity for him, and he fumbled it, didn't he? So Yuki Tsunoda really being chased down by Sergio Perez now. Zhou Guanyu in the DRS of Colapinto. What? That Stake F... Oh, I say that Stake F1 car's come alive. He's got 8-lap younger tyres, fresher tyres than that of Colapinto. So no wonder Zhou Guanyu is catching the Williams. He tried to catch Magnussen, Colapinto, but it seems like Magnussen's been able to hold off the Williams. But yes, George Russell, with 2 laps remaining, guys, we're on the penultimate lap of this race. George Russell has controlled this race brilliantly. No fall off from him. He really didn't have much of a challenge other than the opening laps, as Lando Norris is pitting for a fastest lap, no doubt. Of course, every point matters, as it did in the Drivers' Championship, but importantly, in the Constructors' Championship. Imagine, and I've said it before, imagine McLaren do not win the Drivers, which they're definitely not going to, and imagine they don't win the Constructors after having the car advantage they have had for the majority of this season. It would be unforgivable. It would be unbelievable. And yeah, I can see it happening. I can absolutely see it happening. But as it currently stands, George Russell is going to win this race with 1 lap remaining at the Vegas Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton, what if for him? He had tremendous pace here today, but of course, starting in P10 has really ruined his chances at going for the race win. But Mercedes are definitely the fastest car in cool track conditions, that is for sure. Of course, unfortunately for them, we head to the Middle East next, where we're definitely not going to get track conditions but are under 20 degrees. So George Russell starts the final lap of the Vegas Grand Prix. It's been a great performance from him. He sustained the challenge from Charles Leclerc, and he will win this race, no doubt, as he has only how many laps? How many corners remaining? 14 corners. 13 corners remaining of this Vegas Grand Prix circuit. Sainz will finish in P3. Charles Leclerc will finish in P4, no doubt, and they will close in on the constructors. But importantly, for the Drivers' Championship, Max Verstappen has only 13 corners remaining until he is a 4-time world champion. If Lando doesn't get the fastest lap, I think if Lando gets the fastest lap, does he remove that? Is it still mathematically impossible or possible? I'm not entirely sure. We'll see. Congrats, Max. Yeah, I think Max is up 62 right now. So I do like Norris. Yeah, I like Norris. Amazing drive by the 2 Mercs. Yeah, no, Max has won even if he gets fastest lap. Okay, there we go. So I'll wait for my spiel. But moments away, guys, moments away. Lando Norris, fastest first sector, so yes, he's going for fastest lap, but he's getting, is he overtaking someone there? Is it blue flags for someone, for Bottas? No. But George Russell, he has got out of turn 16. It's been a great drive from him. He's managed it perfectly. It's going to be a Mercedes 1-2. And George Russell started on pole. He defended from Charles Leclerc. He wins for the second time this season. No, third time this season. Second time this season. I can't remember how many wins George Russell has now. But George Russell wins again. Lewis Hamilton P2. Carlos Sainz P3. Charles Leclerc P4. And Max Verstappen crosses the line and is a 4-time consecutive world champion. What a year for Max Verstappen. Arguably his best championship out of the 4 in arguably No, actually, no arguing. Definitely not the fastest car throughout the course of this season. Yes, at the start of the season he did, but he capitalised importantly when he had that advantage, and that is why he is now a 4-time world champion. Lando Norris, I think even with that fastest lap there, doesn't keep the championship going for one more week, but it will be important in the permutation for the Constructors' Championship, where Ferrari have gained. Oscar Piastri finishes in P7, Nico Hülkenberg in P8, Yuki Tsunoda holds off a charging Sergio Perez there at the end for P9, as Sergio Perez was on the rear wing of Yuki across the finish line. And yes, confirmation that Max Verstappen is a 4-time world champion, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, W's in chat for Max Verstappen. W's in chat. You may have opinions about the previous 2-3 years of his championships, but this one you cannot argue against. You cannot. Whether you're a fan or not, he has done absolutely brilliant to win that championship this year. Hold my hands up, he has thoroughly deserved it. Thoroughly deserved it. Let's run through the rest of the grid. Sergio Perez finishes in P10. Alonso in P11, nearly finished in the points positions. But of course, that strategy of starting on the softs just left him wanting in the end. Kevin Magnussen in P12. Zhou Guan Yu with his best performance this year in P13. Colapinto in P14, up 6 positions starting from the pit lane. Stroll in 15th. Lawson down 2 positions in 16th. Not a good weekend for him. He struggled here in Vegas. Ocon in 17th. Wow, he finished down 6 positions. Of course, they pitted him at the end there onto a set of softs. Bottas in 18th, and then 2 retirees of Albon and Gasly. And yes, guys, that is it for the Vegas Grand Prix. Thank you for tuning in. Of course, we're going to stick around and take it all in. Let's have a look at Driver of the Day. I'm going to get your opinions of who Driver of the Day is. Let's see who you think it is. Let's go for that. Let's go for him. Let's go for... who else do we go for? I don't even know who else I can go for, really. Let's go for... I think he's done pretty good. I mean, it's a pretty lonely race for a lot of people, actually, to be honest with you. I'm not putting into Perez because he should... I think Alonso deserves a good shout, to be fair. I think Alonso deserves a good shout. I haven't included Max because I don't think it was a Driver of the Day performance for Max. Yes, he's world champion. He can have his world championship. He's not getting Driver of the Day as well, guys. Thank you, Robert. Much appreciated. Yeah, much appreciated. But, of course, still, Constructors' Championship. There are a lot. Let's see what that has done to the Constructors' Championship standings as it is at the moment. Max Verstappen is confirmed as your 4-time world champion. It is mathematically impossible for Lando Norris to win the championship now. And, well, McLaren, 608 points to 584. That gap now is... My maths is terrible, so I'm going to go on the calculator app and do this for you. 584 is 24 points with 2 race weekends remaining, with one of those being a sprint race. It is going down to the wire, guys. 12-point advantage there for Ferrari. It could have been 13, but Lando Norris snuck in at the end there with a fastest lap. Could that point be all important at the end? But imagine McLaren do not win this Constructors' Championship at the end. You guys are so much better at maths than me. Oh, guys. Thank you for all this, for the likes, guys, and the subscribers. Please, if you haven't hit that subscribe button already, it'd be much appreciated. That'd be, it'd be much appreciated, guys, if you could hit that subscribe button. How many fastest laps did Lewis Hamilton get today? I don't know. He had quite a few. So, Max doesn't deserve the title. He should be disqualified from the title. No. Look, you have to respect when someone has done well throughout the course of the season, and Max has definitely dug deep and done well. Lando Norris should have won this championship this season, but he didn't. So he'll learn from it, of course, but Lando Norris has just proven, or just found out, that it's not easy to win a world championship, even if you have the fastest car. So you need sleep now, Alpha Yana. What is the time? Only 7:30. Only 7:30. It's not even light outside in the UK yet. It's still dark out. Thank you, Pat. Much appreciated, guys. We're never going to see Lewis winning with Mercedes again. No, I don't think so. I mean, they're not going to be strong in Qatar. They're not going to be strong in Abu Dhabi, where the temperatures are going to be higher. We're heading into the Middle East. So, yeah. Morning, Andy. Unfortunate for Gasly, he did so well in qualifying. Yeah, I know. So, Crash Norris out and first of track. No, look. A season is very long. Even with those, there's a lot of times that Lando should have capitalised and done better, and he didn't. So ultimately, that's Lando's fault and McLaren's fault. So yeah, but guys, I want your questions. Of course, we'll stick around and chat, of course, as always. But I want your questions. Go to my community page. I will be doing a Q&A video as always for this Vegas Grand Prix. So head over to my community page. Ask me your questions. It could be about the Vegas Grand Prix. It could be about the season. It could be about the season as a whole. Let me just show you where we're going to. So head to the community page and go over there. I want your questions, guys. It's just gone up there, and I'll get a video out later on today for you. My pleasure, Sue. My pleasure, Dave. Yeah, thank you, guys. Of course, we'll be back next week. It is a sprint race weekend. I will be doing... what are the times for next week, actually, to be fair? I'm not entirely sure what the times are. So Qatar, FP1... I might be able to do sprint qualifying. I will be able to. I'll be here for the sprint qualifying. I've got an event that I have to attend, so I might not be able to do qualifying at 6 p.m. on the Saturday. But of course, I'll be here for the all-important race on Sunday. In news, Spirit describes the party after their first championship. H borrowed a guest brand new llama. Did donuts in the lawn of. Did he really? That's flexing, isn't it? That's flexing. This track is good. Do you know what? It's one of those, really. I think it was a good race. I always have low expectations for street circuits. I think it provided a good race. I think the fact that we had a two-stop definitely made it a good race. It's just a race of what if again, really. If Lewis Hamilton qualified, like if it was a front row start for Russell and Hamilton, there would have been a mega race at the front. And if they were fighting, I mean, would they have fallen back into the clutches of the Ferraris? Potentially. But they had such a pace advantage. I think we would have seen a great battle between Russell and Hamilton for the win. But Lewis robbed us of that, so due to his error in Q3. So thanks, Glenn. Much appreciated, guys. Next week, 6:30, South Africa. Next year, Lando Norris, champion of the world. Potentially, if he gets the car. I mean, look, you learn from these. You learn from your mistakes. You learn by putting yourself in these positions. And yeah, Lando's found how hard it is to win a championship over the course of a season. And he may have a car advantage next year, or he may have a car that can win consistently and get the points. And hopefully McLaren as well. I mean, look, McLaren could still lose the Constructors. Like, that's unbelievable if they don't win the Constructors this year. So, yeah, the team as a whole, I never really believed that Norris was in the chance of the Drivers' Championship. And I think that also filtered down to Norris as well. Mentally, you have to realise, did anyone truly believe in McLaren that Norris was in the fight for the Drivers' Championship? Did they really have that belief? And I don't think they really did. I don't think they did. And I think maybe Norris, that might have affected Norris. It may have done. F1's as much as a mental game as it is a physical game and a talent game. So I didn't like the Alpine, Sauber and Williams this week, but the front was interesting. Yeah, I mean, look, credit to Zhou Guanyu, even though he finished 13th. Great weekend for him. So, they're in the cars again. They're in those really tight Rolls Royces again. F1 will be so happy that Max has won in Vegas. Yeah. Hey, Frankie. Pressures on for McLaren first race next year. Yeah, it's pressures of everyone. So, do I think Lewis will be kicking himself for missing out on the races? Yes, yeah, I think he definitely will be. He'll be sitting there going, ugh. If only I was able to get a decent qualifying, I could have won this race. So, Bro, you have the best car in good conditions. They'll win the Constructors. Well, we'll see. at least we've got something to keep us occupied in the next few races, guys. The constructors is something to... I know we don't put as much value on it as we do the drivers, but at least we'll be able to keep an eye on the constructors in the last few races. So why is there a yellow flag? I don't know. I think it's been removed. So thanks, Frankie. Yeah, if you've enjoyed this watch along, we'll be back, of course, for next. We've done a watch along for every single race this year, so I hope you've been enjoying them. Welcome to everyone who's joined us and found us this year. Hope you've been enjoying the community and the engagement that we have. And yeah, of course, I keep the content coming. I don't just end the race. I end the stream. We chat, we discuss, and then of course I do Q&A videos as well and so forth. So yeah. Oh, we're nearly at 1,000 likes. 70 of you. Go on, 70 of you can hit the like button. Go on, let's get this to 1,000 likes. Go on. How does Red Bull lose in constructors' money with Perez? So from first place to third place, it's 12 million. Yeah, 12 million. Your favourite part about Vegas. Unfortunately, Norris doesn't have that arrogant streak, but he's still only young. I agree, Glenn. Yeah, I think there's been many a time this year where he should have been more aggressive. He should have been more of a dick. I've said that in a few videos and a few streams, and yeah, he hasn't had that ruthlessness that Max Verstappen has. So yeah, we'll see if he learns that, and hopefully will learn it, because he definitely needs to if he's going to go up against Max, go up against Charles. I mean, there's no guarantee. Like, I tell you what, you give Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc a championship-winning car next year, they're going to be tough to beat. You give Max Verstappen a championship-winning car next year, we know how difficult he is to beat already. So there's no guarantee. And of course, he's got his teammate as well. He's got his teammate who's going to be wanting to hit the ground running next year and have a consistent season to put a championship battle up. So there's no guarantee that Lando, even if they're given a race-winning car next year, there's no guarantee that Lando will be there fighting for that World Championship next year, or it will be as good of an opportunity as he had this year. So Williams mechanics deserve a Constructors' Championship for themselves. Oh, they need the biggest bonus, don't they? The only problem is there's probably no money left in the kitty for a bonus for the mechanics, because they're running out of parts and they're at the top of the cost cap. So there's a litany of drivers whose next year never happened. Exactly, Andy. Exactly. And you need to capital. You don't know. You just never know in F1. You never know if you're going to have that good of an opportunity again, if you're going to have that good of a car ever again. And you do think with Lando's talent that even if McLaren fell off, another team like Red Bull or whatever would probably pick him up. Because I think he is good enough. I do think he has the better. He's definitely had the better of Piastri this year. Yes, Piastri had that run and showed us what he can do. But his third year next year, Piastri, and he needs to do it throughout the duration of a season rather than just 6 races in the middle of the year, you know? So they're playing with the cars, yeah. Thanks, Frankie. Much appreciated. We missed me on iRacing. There's more iRacing content coming. Don't worry. I'm starting to get back into it. Obviously, I've had the little one, so I've been focusing on, of course, helping the missus out with little one and stuff. It's difficult to go live and get lots of races in. So it's more videos than live streams at the moment with regards to iRacing. So Lando had to learn because he was convinced Lewis was winning. Well, that's what I made in reference to that comment, Jem. Yeah, he's found out how difficult it is this year to win a race, to win races in the fastest car. So, and let alone a championship. And this is the thing, right? There's no denying Max had the fastest car at the start of the year, but that is the difference. Max, when he had the fastest car, won 5 races at the start of the season. No, he won 7 races at the start of the season, I think it was. He basically, when he had the fastest car at the start of the season, he maximised it. And that's what you need to do. When you have an advantage, you need to make use of that advantage. And that is what has been important for Max, is that he's been able to maintain that advantage, maintain that gap. And it's been, you need to chase me down. And Lando and McLaren haven't been able to do that. So Thanks, Lando Norris fan. Much appreciated, mate. Have a good Sunday. What are the standings for the constructors, Dan? Yeah, we had a look here, so I'll bring back the standings for the constructors. There is a 24-point gap to Ferrari and McLaren. It is still up for grabs. The championship stand, the battle for the constructors. RB gained 2 points on Alpine there. Of course, the retirement of RB. Thank you for the sub. Much appreciate the membership, Glenn. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to have to turn my alert noise back on. Hang on, hang on. Let's replay that. Is it playing? Playing? Why have I not got... The alert box should be playing. Did you guys hear that? I didn't hear that. Let me play that again. There we go. There we go. We are checking. We are checking. Matt said fastest car in most useless, least challenging teammate, an unsurmountable advantage. Yeah, exactly. But you have to capitalise when you have that when you have that advantage. And look, Max won races this year that he shouldn't have won. He won Imola. He won Barcelona. He shouldn't have won those races, but he did. And that's been the difference. So, thank you for the membership, Alan, as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you, thank you. Chief Strategists. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you for the support, as always. Of course, we're going to just see what the drivers have got to say. I mean, driver of the day is Lewis Hamilton at the moment. Unsurprising. I think he deserves driver of the day because of the points gained. The only thing is for Lewis, though, is that... Sorry, positions gained. Is that he's gained 8 positions in a car that is quicker than everyone else around him. So it's kind of like... I think it's a great drive from George Russell as well because he managed that race leading out up front and not leading that race is tough. But yeah, he... Oh, they're doing the interviews in front of the Bellagio fountains. Is it the Bellagio fountains? Or the Bellagio? Whatever one it is. Or the Trevi fountain. Is it Trevi fountain? I can't remember. Or is that Rome? Maybe I got my fountains mixed up. Russell should drive of the day because Clutch both qualify. Yeah, I think Russell's been the driver of the weekend for sure. Driver of the weekend has been George Russell. Hamilton could have been driver of the weekend, but yeah, unfortunately, he showed us what could have been, but not what he should have done. So yeah, needs to improve his qualifying. I think there's a mental aspect with him in qualifying with Mercedes. I think that will change in Ferrari. So, you think Russell will get disqualified for less weight? Imagine that happens again. No, I don't think that will happen again. So, Lewis in the office is Southfork's driver of the day. Also, yeah, he has racecraft and constant pace, and he has multiple overtakes. Lewis deserves it. Yeah, I think you could probably say that the fact that he did most of it on track. Yes, he did the undercut, which was good. But, yeah. Russell put down work and won. Lewis didn't. Russell in the face of Petronas. Yeah, he is now. George definitely is now. Yeah, that's for sure. So, this is exciting for next year. Oh, exactly. Well, this is the thing, guys, is that 2025 is going to be amazing. Because if we go into next year with this sort of topsy-turvy performances. I mean, we go into every race weekend not really knowing who's going to be the fastest. And, I mean, look at that this weekend. Norris and Piastri finishing 6th and 7th. Verstappen 5th. 2 Mercedes fastest. This season, I mean, I'd love to know... Not remove the first 6 races, but... Imagine the first 6 races where like Max Verstappen won 5 out of 6 races, apart from Australia. Imagine if that was how the performance is so close now between the teams. Imagine the season we would have had. I mean, it's been an unbelievable season anyway, and we all started this season thinking we're in for another Max domination season, and it hasn't been like that. And I've always said, I don't care. I don't really ever want to see domination. I always want there to be a close championship battle. And that's what we've had this season. And I've been pleasantly surprised. And I think we're really, really, really well set up for next year because the regs aren't changing. There's only like a few technical directives, but won't have too much of a difference in performance. Of course, the development game is still going to be played by the teams. But yeah, there's only so much improvement that these teams can make over the next year. So. When does the champion be shown? Well, they're interviewing Carlos Sainz at the moment. So, Lewis climbed the order twice. He did actually. Yeah, he did. Yeah, did very well. Did very well. So, Netflix having a field day in Vegas. Yeah, I know. So, Lewis gave us action. It's fine. It goes to him. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with Lewis. I don't disagree with it. That's only really because no one else is really kind of like a standout performer. I maybe would have given it to Charles Leclerc if he was able to like win this race or. like take it to George Russell. But yeah, the Ferraris really fell off a cliff with their tyres, didn't they? That was a big fall off for them. You don't understand Merc. I don't even think Merc understand Merc. they don't know why they're so quick in these conditions. But yeah, Spa, Silverstone, Canada, here, all cool conditions, and they've done well. So wins wise, George Russell won more than, is that his second win or is that his third win this season? I can't remember how many times George Russell's won. I know he won at Red Bull, didn't he? He won the Red Bull ring. His second win? Austria in this. Okay, cool. So that is, guys, every driver. So if you're a Perez fan, I'm about to basically just take an absolute dump on Perez. Every driver in the top 4 teams, McLaren, Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, every driver has won multiple races this year. At least 2 or more race wins. Guess who hasn't even got a single win? Yeah, Sergio Perez. And guess who's keeping their seat next year? Yeah, Sergio Perez. Well, yeah, Perez is keeping his seat, Yato. Yeah, I did a video on this. So Perez isn't going anywhere. He brings in too much money. He brings in too much sponsorship. There is also the fact of that Red Bull. It's pretty much kind of widely regarded that Red Bull want to tank their constructors standing. They only care about the World Drivers' Championship, and that's what they've got this year. They want the extra wind tunnel time that you get for finishing lower down in the constructors. So I think my theory is that, look, apparently the rumours are that Sergio Perez brings in £30 million in sponsorship money. So the sponsors pay for his salary, so £10 million, plus they bring in an extra £30 million in revenue for Red Bull. And there's only a £12 million prize money difference from first place to third place. So that's a difference that someone like Carlos Slim, a benefactor of his, can probably make up, or the sponsors can make up. Plus also F1 probably want Perez to stay in the sport because he's highly lucrative. He brings in loads of sponsors. Kit Kat's now the official chocolate bar of F1. There is a rumor floating around as well, but I'm taking with a big pinch of salt, that Perez is the main championship rival in the F1 film. That's a rumor that's floating about. There's a rumor floating about that Perez is the championship contender to the main Brad Pitt's character in the F1 movie next season. And they don't want to not have Perez on the grid next year when the film comes out, supposedly. I don't know. We will see when the movie comes out. But I think it's just, it comes down to money. It just all comes down to money primarily, and what Red Bull want. And I think Red Bull know that Perez isn't never going to challenge Max. It keeps Max happy, who they're trying to keep happy and keep at Red Bull. And yeah, it gets them the extra wind tunnel time that they want, which is important going into a new regulation set, because they did have the cost cap penalty, didn't they? Which I think has maybe had obviously a negative effect, as it should do. But yeah, I think they just want that wind tunnel. So Perez certainly isn't any serious contender in real life. I know. But the majority of people watching the F1 movie will not be F1 fans. They won't know who Perez is. So, who do I think will be Ferrari's #1 driver next year? I don't think they will have a #1 driver. They'll treat him both as the same. So, I think Ferrari will prioritise a driver if Lewis or Leclerc become the main championship contender. If one of them let's say we had a McLaren situation this year, where Norris was clearly the main championship rival to Max and should have been prioritised, even though Piastri was mathematically still in the running. It was unrealistic that Piastri would win the championship. I think if that situation arose and it was Charles Leclerc or Hamilton in the Norris position, I think Fred Vasseur would very much quickly go, yeah, sorry, we're prioritising the guy who's got the most opportunity. So I don't think they'd have an issue with that. What more about Stroll? Imagine Stroll's the main championship contender in the F1 movie. Imagine that. Would you go and see it? Would you see it if you knew Lance Stroll was the championship contender? I think it would just ruin any sort of immersion and realism that they're going for in that F1 movie if Lance Stroll is the championship contender. Oh dear, imagine. What if I am wrong? Please correct, but didn't now. Verstappen has won the championship. Yes, confirmed. 4-time world champion. Yes. Do I see Max leaving Red Bull, seeing the way it's gone this season, making it extremely challenging and frustrating through this year? I do see him leaving Red Bull, yes. So there is a rumour that has been floated around that he has a clause in his contract that if Red Bull, if he's not in the top 3 of the Drivers' Championship standings at a certain milestone in the season, a certain point in the season, he is free to leave or negotiate somewhere else. He's free to leave Red Bull. So yeah, I think Max, I do think the pressure's on George Russell next year. I think Merc is still courting Max, and I think Max wants to win, and he's not going to stay at Red Bull if they're not winning. So yeah, it's all rosy when you're winning, but when you're not, that's when things get tough, and you very quickly, all the things that you said in the past about, yeah, I'll be here for life and so forth, that pretty quickly gets forgotten about. So suspension of belief, and it goes far, Andy. 1 AM over. Oh, well done, Taku. Thank you for modding, by the way, mate. Thank you for the mods, as always. Thank you for the memberships, as always, as well, guys. As I said previously, as always, please head to the community page and leave your questions for me. I will be doing a Q&A video. You can head over there. That's for sure. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, please do. Looking to, of course, as always, get closer to making this a fun career. Because movies aren't real life. True. That is true. Did I hear Charles's radio? No, I didn't hear Charles's. What did Charles say, Jem? I'm really intrigued to hear what Charles actually said. Why do they choose Checo over other drivers such as Max? I don't know, Mooney. It's just a rumour. It's just a rumour. We don't know. But it's just a rumour. Maybe. Lance Stroll in F3, whereas he's literally cheating because his dad bought F1 parts in. I know. That's what people forget. If Perez had Hamilton's car, I'd finished dead last year. But what would you rate that race out of 10, guys? What would you rate it out of 10? I'm going to run another poll, actually. Give me a second. I'm going to run another poll. Let's have a look. Rate Vegas GP out of 10. That 9 to 10. There we go. Put it in the poll, guys. Put it in the poll. Toto has said multiple times he likes Max and see it happen at least after a couple of seasons. Yeah, so basically, I think the pressure's all on George Russell next year. They clearly think Antonelli is the next chosen one. So Antonelli is now... He's now basically got kind of a buy for next year. He's got the pace, and even if he crashes, like Toto will look past that as long as he's got the speed. And George Russell needs to prove that he is worthy of being in that seat and being the #1 driver and not being replaced by Max Verstappen if they're able to get him. So there are a lot of battles to keep us entertained at least. Yeah, I think so. I think it kind of maybe fizzled out towards the end of the race. But yeah, it was. I think it was. I'd give it a 7. I think I'd probably give it a 7. I think that was a 7 out of 10 race. Like solid race. Anything higher than a 7 for me really kind of gets into the point of where you've got like a battle for the lead. There's some more kind of intrigue behind the race. So Charles was upset the team orders not prioritising him. Carlos disobeying team orders and being selfish. He said he's tired of following team orders and being nice and getting fucked over. I agree, Jem. We said it at the time. Charles Leclerc got ahead of Carlos Sainz because his tyres fell off a cliff. and they pitted Sainz before Charles, and Charles got undercut by Hamilton. They should have responded to Hamilton's undercut, because then what happened is that he got undercut by his teammate and Lewis Hamilton and ended up finishing PE4. So he at least could have finished on the podium. Whether Charles had the pace to chase down Lewis, we'll never know. I don't think he did, but he definitely had an opportunity at the podium, that's for sure, and that's been taken away from him. Yeah, I think that was a poor strategy error from Ferrari there. That they tried to extend him, and you just didn't have the pace advantage. I mean, they should have looked at Lewis when he got stuck behind Charles. Lewis had a pace advantage on Charles, but then he got stuck behind Charles. He couldn't get past him. So what makes you think Charles is going to be able to do the same if the roles are reversed? So yeah, didn't really get that decision, and I think Charles has been kind of, at least it wasn't for the win. I guess it wasn't for the win, but yeah, it was a poor decision not to respond to the undercut of Lewis Hamilton. So what are the most important reg changes for next year? To be honest, Leo, I don't know. Not a lot though. The cars are it's pretty much just a carryover into next year. No doubt there'll be some clarification on some items, but yeah, I think there's no dramatic changes. It'll be pretty much similar as next year. No DRS next year. No, that's 2026 where we're going to go to active aero. DRS is sticking around for next year, so we need DRS. God forbid we don't have DRS at the moment. So it looks like a dead pig on its back. Yeah, true. Which is the software that shows lifestyle and map details. Multi-viewer Shivan. Curious about doing as well. I keep forgetting he's in because all the media is on the other rookies. Yes, Lily. Well, do you know what? There's the curious case of Jack Doohan. Alpine are after Colapinto services, and there's rumours that if they are going to sign Colapinto, it will be in place of Jack Doohan. Even though Jack Doohan has got a seat for next year and they've got a contract, the contract doesn't actually come into place. It doesn't actually start until, I believe, the end of the season, or at least the start of next year. So if they get Colapinto buttoned up, we could see Jack Doohan not even be in F1 next year. That's what I'm theorising, and that's what other people are theorising as well. I really hope that's not the case. I think Colapinto deserves to be on the grid, but yeah, it'd be a shame if Jack Doohan doesn't get an opportunity to at least have a season, and have a look at it, but yeah, we'll see. Questions. Have I ever been to Vegas? No, I've never been. So, two-part question there. I've never been to the US. Never. Never been. So, obviously, never been to Vegas. I've never been to the US. And I've never been to a Grand Prix either, yeah. It's a real shame. I've never seen F1 cars. No, I've seen F1 cars I saw my first F1 car in real life this year. I went to the Goodwood Festival of Speed. There's a video on my channel where I saw them go up the hill climb. But yeah, I've never seen a race live. I'd like to. Yeah, I would like to, but never got around to it. Does Lewis should have stayed out another lap or two for his first pit stop? If he did, I think Lewis would have been really close. No. Look, George Russell had that race covered. Absolutely covered. Lewis did the right thing. He came unstuck behind Charles Leclerc for a good number of laps, and the undercut was important for him to finish P2 today. To get clean air, they had a considerable pace advantage over the Red Bull, but they didn't have that pace advantage over the Ferraris when in their dirty air, at least, anyway. So, no, they did the right thing. George had more than enough tyres in the bank, tyre life in the bank for him to finish that race comfortably and manage it. Even if Lewis caught him, he would have had... By the time Lewis caught him, Lewis would have no tyre life left, and George would have been able to just drive off into the distance, cover him off. So, yeah, Lewis didn't win this race today because of his qualifying on Saturday. You cannot start P10. You just can't now in F1. You cannot start in P10. Unless you've got considerable pace advantage like Max did in the past few years in the Red Bull, or if you've got not fluke conditions. If you've got like extreme weather conditions like we had in Brazil. And look, Max maybe could have still won that race in Brazil without the red flag. I don't think he would have done. I think George Russell looked good in the wet. And Norris, if he got clean air, probably would have driven off into the distance as well, but he just had too much of a loaded rear wing and couldn't really overtake. But the red flag did help Max's opportunity to win that race. And look, sometimes that goes for you. You have to put yourself in that position to win it. But yeah, Lewis this weekend ruined it in qualifying. You can't start in P10. You can't start that far down on the grid now when the performance is so close. So, well, when little one can appreciate it, then off to Disney World, mate. They told Carlos not to pressure Charles for tyre wear, and Carlos literally was under Charles's rear wing and then passed him, and Charles said maybe try telling him in Spanish. Yeah. But then again, I don't blame Sainz. Like, Sainz is on his way out the door. Why are you going to adhere to team orders? I'd be like 2 fingers up at you as well, you know? I said this about Carlos Sainz. Like, he has no obligation to play ball this season. Now, like, what does it matter to Sainz? Like, he might never finish on a podium again. He might never have an opportunity of winning a race again because he's heading down to Williams, and there's no guarantee that he'd end up finding himself back in a top team, you know? So why not make the most of this opportunity of being in a Ferrari and finishing on the podium when you can? So can we get Sainz for second seat for Red Bull? I don't know. I think that ship's sailed now, unfortunately. So everyone was saying Lewis is washed, is quiet, and is kept mute. Yeah. I do think there's a bit of a mental block in quali, Josh. I think there's something. I think Lewis has struggled with the tyre prep. I think he's really struggled with these, with the Pirelli tyres in this modern era of F1, like this regulation set. So since we've gone to this ground effect era, of course we know Merc hasn't had the quickest car, but I do think you've seen his qualifying performances really drop off, and I think that's because he's struggled with the tyre prep and getting these big Pirelli tyres, these sensitive tyres, into the right window. And I think when the pressure's on, come Q3, he just falters. Like, he either rushes it or he doesn't do it enough. Like, there's something not quite right there, and that's why he's obviously made comments about the tyre blankets. Now, look, there could have been something to do with the tyre blankets, but I think there's probably more on Lewis in regards to prepping the tyres, and I think he's just struggled throughout these regs to do that, and I think it's got in his head with Mercedes now. Anyway, but when it comes to race day, yeah, he's got a car underneath him. Then we see a drive like that. So I think in Ferrari next year, if he can come out the blocks well and have a decent qualifying, I think we'll see a return of Lewis qualifying well. But ultimately, it doesn't matter if he's good on race day now. He needs to qualify well because qualifying is so important because of how close the performance is, and we expect it to be kind of this close next year as well. At least we're hoping it to be. So, you got Kota? Oh, brilliant, Patricia. Yeah, it's a great circuit. It's a technical circuit and very rewarding. Yuki too. Red Bull Racing clearly just using him and not giving him a fair go. He should change teams, but to where? Well, this is it about Yuki. We've mentioned it loads of times. He's not a Red Bull driver. They don't see him as a Red Bull driver. He's always been in the Red Bull system because of his affiliation with Honda. He's a Honda-backed driver, Japanese company. Honda engines. There's been a Honda partnership with Red Bull, and that's why he was promoted, arguably, too soon to F1 as well, into the RB team, AlphaTauri, and that's why he's never been given an opportunity in the Red Bull car, because he's a Honda driver, and that partnership is ending after next year. They're going to Ford, so yeah, he's fortunately being kept on for another year while they see out that partnership with Honda, but after that, yeah, Yuki's going to have to find himself somewhere else. I don't see them keeping Yuki. So, I mean, he's about to have his first test in a Red Bull car after Abu Dhabi at the end of the year, and he's been in F1 for 4 years. So that's not a lot of faith, is it? That we want to maybe promote you into the top team. Like, he hasn't even had a test. So, is there another Vegas race next year? They were talking about maybe a 4th USA race or not. Yeah, Vegas is, I think it's got 3 years confirmed with the potential of 10. I think they've got a 3-year contract. But I think F1 would like to extend it, but it's whether or not, obviously, the city wants to extend it. So, he might get Alonso's seat when he retires. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. But I don't know. Look, sometimes drivers who deserve to be in F1 don't get to F1. And drivers that deserve to stay in F1 don't stay in F1. It's just how it goes, unfortunately, sometimes. So, hey, we got over 1,000 likes. Thank you, guys. Thank you. It's just Science's attitude. Why no one likes him is as whiny as George on Team Radio, except worse. They're all whiny, though, Jem. Like, trust me, all racing drivers are whiny. They all are. Being fair to Merc, they used George as a guinea pig this race too. Tough testing. Yeah, I mean, he had such an advantage, though, didn't he? He probably can. Driver of the night was Zhou. I should have put Zhou Guan Yu as driver of the day as well. Damn. 259 votes for your rating of the race, though, guys. And, well, we can see that, yeah, 40%, 7 to 8. That's what I think. I said 7. I said a 7, so. It's worth to start to 2 a.m. to see Lewis last podium with Mercedes. Sadly not a win, but that's okay. Yeah, exactly, Ted. Exactly. Is Max World Drivers Champion? He is. Yep, he's a 4-time world champion. Confirmed. Constructors' Championship is going down to the wire, though, as McLaren lost points. They lost 12 points to Ferrari. So 24 points now in this Constructors' Championship. So we have technically 3 races remaining, 2 race weekends, a sprint race next week in Qatar, and then we have, of course, the main race and then Abu Dhabi to end the season. The locals hate F1, I heard. I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine, man. It's it must be such an interruption to like way of life. So Yuki needs to keep improving, and a team will come calling much more mature behind the wheel now. Yeah, he's definitely taken a step up this year. Considering how the year started, when he like drove into Daniel Ricciardo, didn't he, on the in lap, the cool down lap in Bahrain. So. You think F1 Corporation laid out the cash for the permanent infrastructure? That will have some weight in the longevity of Vegas' GP's tenure. Yeah. Well, I know they are the promoter, aren't they? Formula One management. So, hell of a drive for Lewis. We're feasting next year in Ferrari. Yeah, I'll definitely give him some confidence. So, I'm intrigued to see. I mean, there's no doubt that he lacks in qualifying. He definitely lacks in qualifying, and he needs to improve it. There's no doubt about that, and he definitely seems to be down in the dumps after qualifying. Like he's accepted that it's just a norm now in the Mercedes car. I think that'll change in Ferrari. I think because it'll be revitalized. Like it's like a new start, fresh new start. So it's an extremely high stress environment. Surprised they don't whine more. Exactly. Well, they do whine actually a lot. If you go onto YouTube, there's always like compilations of like the best radio messages, not from F1, but from what people have pulled from like F1 TV, where you get like all of the radio messages and stuff, and they are so sweary, they are so whiny. That's racing drivers. Trust me, it is. I know that just from being sim racing behind a virtual wheel, how whiny I can get, let alone in a high pressured environment like that. So, my thoughts on General Motors being the 11th team on the grid. Bring it on. Happy bloody days, about damn time, Shetty. So yeah, basically it's Andretti, but it's General Motors. Yeah, long overdue. Get them on the grid. So supposedly it's basically the Andretti deal, but the name is being changed, and the main shareholders are General Motors. So they'll be created, basically Cadillac. So as it was predicted beforehand, they will bring a new engine in 2028. I think, or 2026. They'll use the Ferrari engine for a couple of years, basically. There'll be a customer engine for a couple of years with their own aero base, creating their own aero and chassis, and then they'll create their own engine, I think, for 2028 or 2027, something like that. It's basically Formula One management. Greg Maffei, who is now on his way out at the end of the year as well. So it's weird, isn't it coincidental that as the CEO is now leaving, the 11th team now gets confirmed. But it's basically them having an agenda against Andretti, because the reasons they said Andretti wouldn't be able to join, nothing's changed. It's just the fact of that, okay, General Motors is now, it's going to be General Motors F1 rather than Andretti F1. So, yeah, it is corrupt. Yeah, it's the fact of it. It was personal. They didn't like Andretti. They don't like him. Don't like the way he's gone about things. Whereas General Motors is more of it's technically a works team, isn't it? So, yeah, it's personal bias against Andretti. I think Andretti's still involved. I think he's taken a step back from it, but he's still going to be involved. Yeah, but it's a real shame, isn't it? So, But anywho, at least we get, the important thing is we're getting an 11th team. We're getting another reputable brand joining F1. And yeah, Cadillac has racing pedigree. So, looking forward to it. Also, if your teammate is Whitlock Perez, send us some NASCAR racers over here in EU. We send them some noise in Vegas. They can send some V8 Raw. Rum, rum, yeah. Pole rating drivers by whining this, yeah. What a season we have had. Red Bull dominance, McLaren, and now Ferrari. Oh, what a topsy-turvy season it's been, guys. I mean, did you predict this season that we're having right now, we would have this season? But especially after Max came out winning those first few races by like 13, 15, 20 seconds. Like, it was like, buckle in, guys. We're in for another long season. Let's just get to 2025. Lewis is joining Ferrari. There's some driver changes going on. Let's just get to 2025. Like, it's another year of like pain, really. Because I don't want to see, regardless of who it is, I don't want to see dominance ever. I want close racing. I want a close championship battle. And wow, who would have predicted that we go into every single race weekend not knowing who's going to be the fastest car? Brilliant. Bring on 2025, especially with the driver changes. You stoked for Audi picking up the wrenches. The V8, yeah, still. Right, I'm going to say it. The VAG group. Still feels really weird saying that out loud. The Volkswagen group has some talent and deep pockets, yes. But I don't think they'll hit the ground running, though. The problem for Audi is that they're picking up the Sauber car. And the Sauber car is not a great car. So they've got a lot of work to do, Audi. They've got a lot of work to do. That's not to say that General Motors haven't got a lot of work to do either. It's going to take a while for both of them teams to hit to get going. Yeah, definitely. So, I know, Lily. After those first few races, I was about to be terminally dejected. Yeah, Toyota's already back with Haas. Yes, so I have a theory that I think Toyota. I think this is them dipping their toe back into F1. I think it's a technical partnership with Haas. Apparently, they're lending like engineers and designers, and so it's a technical partnership with Haas F1. And I think this might be an eventual maybe takeover of Haas. I think if they make steps forward, I think Haas F1 could become. I think they could become Toyota again. So. Flavio is okay, Michael Andretti not so much. Oh no, it's mad, isn't it? So Cadillac are in WC, but they're not very competitive. Yeah, it's different though, isn't it? In the World Endurance Championship, yeah, better in IMSA. So I mean, but they have racing pedigree, Cadillac. It's not like they're coming in brand new and they've never done racing before. You know? So I heard former principals complain about factory works teams can be crippled by committee. Hope GM and Caddy and Audi don't get fushly hobbled. Yeah, so this is the problem with Audi as well, Alan, is that the people that were influential in bringing Audi into F1 at the top aren't there anymore, from my understanding. So I think the CEO has moved on. I think one of the other board members there has moved to a different part of Audi, so he's not part of like the motorsport scene anymore. So that's why there was some changes in like leadership there. I think that's why I think Mattia Bonotto was never going to be hired. It was who was there? I can't remember who it was. Oh, it wasn't Stella. Someone from Mercedes took over the head of motorsports, and then he left in that switch up. Can't remember who it was, but yeah, there's been a change up at Audi, so that's why it's a little bit. People are a little bit hesitant about them hitting the ground running. So. Do I ever see Ford trying to make an attempt into F1? Not as a full team, no. So Ford have found a way into F1 by creating the engine for Red Bull 2026. So they're the new engine partner of Red Bull. So yeah, that's their way back in. I don't think they'll do a full team, no. Not many teams can arrive and hit the ground running in WC. No, in any motorsport, to be honest with you. Even if we've been out of sport for a number of years, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. So, but anyway, guys, that is it for me. What a day it's been already. It is now daylight outside in the UK. Woo! Thank you for joining me as always, guys. Much appreciated. Remember, I want your questions. Go to my community page. I'll show you now. Head to my community page and leave me your questions. Over here, guys. Leave me your questions. Right here. You go YouTube, community page. Leave me your questions. I'll be doing a Q&A video later on. And yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm actually quite awake at the moment, but no doubt I'll crash this afternoon. So hopefully before I crash, I've got enough questions to answer. Take in all the interviews, everything. See if any questions that I have myself that I can answer. And yeah, we'll put that up tonight. That's for sure. So Audi equals next Force India. Do you think, Joshua? We'll see. We'll see. It's all about shareholders. That's the thing. It's how quickly do these big big companies cut their losses. But the thing is with F1 now is that it's a business opportunity. Because of the cost cap, it makes it a little bit more viable to join and know, okay, we don't have to, well, to an extent, but they're like, okay, the cost cap kind of is helping to bring the field closer together, and it means that we're not, on one hand it's a positive, on one hand it's a negative, because yes, a company like Audi can't come in and spend £500 million in regards to just trying to make an amazing car, but also it's a positive on the same sense that they don't need to spend £500 million to get straight to the top. Yeah, but you buy a team now in F1, they're only just increasing in value. So it's a business opportunity for a lot of, it's an investment for a lot of these companies. So one last question, Ranveer, go on. Is it better for Texas or the Miami Grand Prix to be a night race rather than Vegas? It would be better neither. It'd be neither, because there's a 5-hour time difference with Miami in Europe, pretty much. So that would mean the race would be... Actually, no, then again, I mean, it depends how dark it gets at that time of the year in Miami, Florida. I mean, you could maybe have a 7 o'clock race and it'd be 12 o'clock. Yeah, no, you're kind of getting into the realm of like a midnight race, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. race for most of Europe. If you have a night race in Miami, the 5-hour time difference, and then Texas is a 6-hour time difference, I think, and that'd be similar as well. So yeah, none of those really work time zone wise for Europe. So tires would get cut, yeah. But yeah, no, thank you guys as always, much appreciated. I appreciate everyone tuning in once again for this early morning race. We hit, I mean, peak viewership of 7,500 again, and the average viewership was a more than what I expected for being such an early morning race. So yeah, what a race though. I always have low expectations for street races, but yes, what if for Lewis Hamilton, a great control drive for George Russell, Max Verstappen is your 4-time World Drivers' Champion, and the Constructors' Championship is still up for grabs with a 12-point advantage there for Ferrari on McLaren, with only 24 points in it with 2 race weekends remaining. So have a lovely rest of your Sunday. Hope you go have a nice roast, or you're prepping yourself for the day or whatever, if your day hasn't even started, or if it's early in the morning for you. Go get some well-needed shut-eye. But yes, thank you for the memberships. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Glenn, and everyone else for supporting as always. Hit that like and subscribe button one last time. Go leave me a question if you want it answered. I'll try and get through all of them if I can for a video for you later on this evening. I'm now going to go chill on the sofa, maybe conk out. Who knows? But yeah, have a good one, guys, and we'll see you next week for Qatar, where we do it all over again. See you then. Bye.